But why don't we have, high school has it.
General, no, high school.
Good evening. The Georgetown School Committee meeting of Thursday, January 12th, 2012 is now called to order. First item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and it includes the approval of minutes from the regular session of 12/8/11, budget and finance minutes of 12/8/11, acceptance of warrants 25V12, 27V12, 29V12, 26 P12, 28 P12. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Our student rep, Matt. What's going on at school?
The main thing with the students right now is coming back from vacation is just getting ready for midterms. So again, studying, getting reviews. Everyone's excited for the 4-day weekend. Feels like we were just on vacation a couple days ago, but the 4-day weekend's good. And both basketball teams are doing really well right now. So
Great.
What about the play, Matt? Maybe
the plays,
just for the committee, the date and stuff, just so the committee can put them on their calendars.
The dates off the top of my head are February 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Yeah.
Play practice is heating up right now. We're, I think, 3 or 4 days a week now with solos and such on different nights. So getting really into that too, and it's coming together nicely. So.
Yeah. You don't want to miss that, but you need to get a ticket
I was just saying,
early.
do you know when tickets go on sale?
Because
they
they
it
sell
won't
out.
be for about 1 or 2 weeks.
Okay,
but,
so maybe at our next meeting, if you could let us know when they go on sale.
Yeah, and you can get tickets through me or any person in the play ahead
All
of
right.
time too. So.
You got a connection, Matt.
All
Will
right.
help you out.
Okay, just bring it home and the phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, so everyone remember that. Okay, next item is audiences. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak on any agenda items this evening. Okay.
Is there anybody that wants?
Great. Okay, sure. You just need to come up.
The school
and,
calendar is on.
yeah, you can come and sit here and just give Laura your name
Right here
so
on
that
the
she
back.
knows.
Oh, I don't.
You don't have a back? It's under new business. Hi.
If you can just give Laura your name and address so that she can put it into the record.
I'm Barbara Dunphy, D-U-N-P-H-Y, 7 Tiger Road.
We've been emailing back and forth. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm very concerned about you know how you have the calendar after, it starts before Labor Day. I basically want to pledge and beg the school committee to think of families. It's not so much about academics, it's families. And voting for the holiday, having the students go to school before the holidays is a vote against families. Let me explain the reason I'm saying this. Most people only get 10 vacation days during their year when they're working, and they try to get it. And they bop around with both parents working. They try to get it so they can have it both coincide. Well, they try to squeeze out as many days. I know from my experience, and many of you guys do as well, is try to tack it on to holidays. Well, if you end up having on Labor Day, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Labor Day, that way you get time on top of it. So you end up, but if we end up having school starting before Labor Day, I can't do those days ahead of time, and I can't do them after, because the kids have gone back to school. So basically, it's a vote for families. If you vote yes to have the school restarting back, as they had many years, did it for my school system, and actually Newburyport had the wisdom. They tried it out, they said it failed. They voted for families. They now start after Labor Day, and their numbers are very good as well. What we gain out of those 3 days is not substantial, but having families, it is substantial. And that's exactly what we're asking for, is vote for families. You know, don't say that it doesn't really matter, they don't start up, it's just starting. My son had an exam in chemistry on Thursday after school started. He also had a Spanish exam, I think it was Spanish, on the Tuesday after. So don't say it's just start-up time, it doesn't really matter. It does matter. This vacation is over. You cannot go away for those 4 days. As people say, well, it's only a few days. You can't go away. The kids got to start. We got high school students. We also have little ones. Those 3 days really aren't significant if they're tacked at the end, but they are significant to the families. Let me just state, family is very important. We don't know what could happen from one year to the next. Family could be divorced. Ma could get killed. Grandma or grandpa could die. I want to tell you a story. A little over 10 years ago, my son had a 5-year-old buddy. He died. It was an in-home accident, and he hung himself. I remember listening about a year later, I was thinking about spending the money going to Disney World. And I asked Linda, I said, Linda, should we go to Disney World? It's a lot of money. And Linda said, let me tell you something, Barbara. I can never have a family vacation again. What you have on those will last you a lifetime. The time that if anyone misses in school, they can make up. It doesn't matter. But a family, you can never make up that time. So when you vote, if you vote for the holiday and forget about vacation time and think it's those 3 days are so important, remember you're voting against family. And I'm asking you, vote for family. Those 3 days, the end of vacation, doesn't really matter. They matter at the beginning. So vote for the calendar and vote for the calendar and have it after Labor Day so we can have vacations, we can have family and not split it apart. What are we running to? Where is the race? The race is for families. Love, compassion. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. But let's not stop family growth. The kids are only young for a short period of time. We only have them for 18 years. Please vote for families. That's why I came down. I've been sick, I've been out of work, but I said, I gotta go. I gotta let you know what I'm thinking. And it's very important for the family. And I'm asking you, vote for families. Put the 3 days at the end, not before Labor Day. Thank you.
All right, great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Okay, next is Mary Hayes, the approval of the France trip.
Come on up, Mary.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jacobs. Good evening, school committee. I'm here again to request permission for Stephanie Paveo, the other chaperone, and myself to take whichever number of students would like to go to France again. Not the same students, but another group of students. During the April vacation, it will be April 13th to the 21st. We would not be taking any school days. We would leave on a Friday and come back on the next Saturday.
Does anyone have any questions?
Any extra seats?
How can you
I had
arrange?
my questions answered ahead of time about whether you used the company before. So.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
And we have the same insurance that we had before when we had to cancel the trip.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the exact same policies.
Okay, great.
Same company.
You remember when it was the
Yep.
the volcano?
Volcano in Iceland.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and they had to
She
cancel.
can't control the natural disasters,
Right. That's why I just
So-
wanted to make sure we had that same insurance so that if anything were to happen.
I mean, these trips are great opportunities for the kids that can come. I mean, they're a great educational extension, and Mary and Stephanie, while you get to go, you're still giving up your vacation. It's not quite like this going on vacation by yourself. So, I've always been in support of this, and I know the committee has in the past as well. So
The only other question I had was that issue that was brought up by Naomi about the disclosure form.
oh, the disclosure form, right?
The disclosure form has to be filled out and filed at the town clerk's office.
Right. I'll work with you on that, Mary.
I forgot
Yeah,
about
it has
that.
to do with the ethics, laws. Remember, I think we talked about this last year, and I think you filed the appropriate paperwork.
Yes.
So it's just a matter
It's
of,
just a form,
it's just a
Okay.
form.
but I just wanted to make sure it was filled out.
Right,
Especially for the chaperones.
But
For-
yeah, it's
for the chaperones.
It's only for the
It's only
chaperones.
for the
right. And it's actually only for you and the people who are paid with public funds.
And I have the information, and I know who to contact.
Yes,
Perfect.
right. We'll take care of that.
Right.
Thank you, Ann.
Do you have an idea of how many kids will go?
At this moment, there are 11 who definitely want to go, and one parent, Mrs. Tracy Southwick.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
And is that on target like with the previous years?
It's exactly the same as a year ago.
And this isn't exactly the same trip, though, right?
It's a slightly different trip.
Slightly
Last
different.
year was Paris and the Chateau. This year it's Paris and the Riviera, where we're going to go south and go to Avignon and Monaco and Provence and Nîmes
Yeah.
and other historic sites.
Right.
My intent is to compare both trips and decide which is best.
Right. Well, it's nice to have variety, too.
Absolutely.
It's great.
This one's better.
Well,
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds wonderful.
After last year's most fabulous experience, I don't know if you read about it in the record. I think it was published in the record, but the students put together a wonderful article about their experiences on the week a year ago, and it was incredible. It was most wonderful.
It was
I didn't
incredible.
hesitate to even to stop to think about another trip.
Right.
That's great.
Will they do that again?
We hope.
Mm-hmm.
They try to do it every year. So it's just a matter of,
Right. Usually if it's the students that are involved in coming up with the information for the article, I know they try to feature those kind of things, which.
Oh, you mean for the article?
you mean the
That's what I
article?
was
Oh, I
talking
thought you were talking
Oh, I
about
think
the
about
trip.
the trip.
And
I
it's
did too.
nice. It's really nice to hear back
Yeah.
what transpired.
Oh,
If you like, I
absolutely.
do have copies of what they wrote.
That would be great.
Yeah, that
If
would
you
be
have
great.
copies,
Thank
we'll
you.
pass them on.
I didn't include
Okay.
them. I just didn't think to include them in the original packet.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the spring trip to France as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion carries. All right,
Have
you're
a
all
wonderful
set.
time.
Thank you very much.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
trip.
Send a
Thank you.
postcard.
Yes, I will.
I think if you need a chaperone, Rob might be available. I don't know.
I think Mr. Lucia might be in competition.
Peter, I'll talk to you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mary.
Next up, which is not on the agenda, is a presentation by the school building committee on the preferred option. Is that the
Yes.
correct wording? Okay. So just for the public's edification, so they know, we're moving along very quickly on this process. And so we've been having them come and update us, and then we vote periodically depending upon the milestone. But this is all coming to a head, I think in March, is it, or April?
February
We have
2nd.
to submit February 2nd.
February 2nd.
By.
This one?
By February 2nd, we submit the plan for the redevelopment of the school, or the development
preferred option.
of the preferred option. Okay. And then MSBA comes back to us?
The MSBA will then have a board meeting in March
Okay.
and vote on our submittal.
Okay. So just so that everyone's aware, it's moving, and by March we'll hear back from the MSBA. So by the end of March, we'll have an idea of what we've been approved for?
Well, there'll be a meeting of the board, their board on January 25th, right?
That'll approve the preferred
That's
option.
going to approve the,
And the March meeting approves the schematic design.
Okay.
Okay, that's right.
okay?
All right.
And the reason you're seeing it tonight is that in the past, when we've had important decisions like this, particularly, the grade configuration, it's been the preference of the committee, and I think it makes total sense, that you have a meeting where you get the presentation. And then you have an opportunity to ask questions, but also think about it. And then on the meeting on the 26th, you'll actually be asked to take a vote. So you'll have an opportunity to ask your questions in between, and then you'll be completely confident, comfortable with, with this. Because this really, the school committee, they want to know that the school committee, reviewed it, discussed it, and approves it.
So everyone, so the viewing public know that we're going through it tonight. We have 2 weeks to answer questions, fact find.
And you've never seen this before, so this is
And,
new
So we have a
information.
community meeting coming up
Okay, when's the community? When was that?
Monday, a week from Monday.
24th.
The 20
Okay,
Third.
Third,
Third.
at
Pembroke,
Pembroke.
at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And the presentation will be given again also, with any tweaks that are developing along the way, which I believe happens daily.
Hourly.
Moment to moment, right? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You can see by the label that this is a presentation we just gave the other afternoon to the faculty at the school. The principal has I think it's a monthly meeting with all the teachers and staff. So just quickly, just to refresh where we are in the process, we've come before you previously to share with you the development of the educational program, the summary of all the spaces that will be in the elementary school, the review of the existing conditions that went into that initial report. Then we developed options, and now we're at that stage where we've submitted the preferred option to the state. We're actually literally in that process now, waiting to get approval there. But the next step is the submission of what's called schematic design of the project that needs not only the endorsement of the building committee, but of your committee and selectmen as well too. And that's due to go in to the state on February 2nd. Just to refresh the decision tree that we went through to get to where we were, remember we had 3 different grade configurations we were considering, whether to renovate or build new. New was selected, and whether to build on the playing fields or in the wooded area south of the existing school, and the wooded area was selected. And again, your committee, the building committee, and the selectmen have all endorsed each of these decisions. And just quickly to recap programmatically where we are, the existing building is about 64,000 square feet. It houses grades 2 through 5 right now, but it's due to house grades kindergarten through grade 6. The building will be 98,000 square feet. And just a diagram of what those spaces will look like in the school. Before we show you the actual plans, it's good to understand sort of the adjacencies that are desired. One of the first things to notice is that there are 2 entries, a bus entry and a vehicle entry. Vehicle meaning parents and cars dropping off children, and obviously students who arrive by bus. One of the first things we want to try and improve at that site is traffic safety and traffic flow. And the best way to do that is to have separate entrances so that buses and cars have their own dedicated driveways and enter the building. They come into a common lobby, but from different access points. The other major thing to notice about this diagram is that on the left side are the large public spaces of the building, the cafeteria and gym. On the right are the more day-to-day academic spaces. So again, in a school like Pembroke that's used extensively for community use, the thought is you could operate the school on the left-hand side and close off the other sides very easily, conveniently, and share that lobby space as an access point and as a lobby, particularly when there's a performance in the cafeteria, which does have a platform or a stage in there. So it is the assembly, the auditorium space in the school. The other thing to notice on the right side, the classrooms, again, just shown as one big cluster. They're not all the individual classrooms. There are over 30 classrooms that will be in the school. They're broken into 2 parts, upper grades and lower grades, because again, there was some concern by several different constituencies that, since we are bringing younger kids and 6th grade back, that there's a bigger age span now, that we should perhaps encourage a design that separates those students within the building, even though they're obviously sharing a lot of functions. If the basic classrooms could be in separate wings, that's probably desirable. The library being in sort of the heart of the academic portion of the building is an important concept that we want to work in. The administration being adjacent to an entrance for good supervision and security is important in this diagram. And then there are some shared spaces in the school, art rooms, music, science, computer lab, that should be strategically located so that they're equally accessed from the classrooms. And one other thing to notice, that dashed circle there, the outdoor classroom, again, the great opportunity of this site is to try and incorporate nature into the school, to take advantage of that. We don't want to lose sight of that fact and try to use the outdoors as part of the curriculum in the school too. So with that diagram, we've moved ahead, and this is a sketch diagram of the site plan of the new school, and I'll show you a 3-dimensional model in a second. But the notion is that to the left there is the dashed outline of the existing school that you can see right over here. If I point to that, that's the existing school. The existing drop-off circle is right here at the very edge of the frame. The notion is that this driveway that currently accesses the school would continue past the teacher's parking lot on into the woods. And it becomes, on one side, the driveway for cars, and on the other side, the driveway, the drop-off area for buses. So they have 2 distinct access points there. You can also see a couple landforms here. For those who are familiar with this school, you might actually know there's a bit of an outcropping of ledge right next to the building, back by some classrooms in the back corner of the building. That's sort of part of a knob of topography right here. And then at the other side of the site, this right here is an isolated wetland. It's not really a pond. It's not truly wet, but it has certain species and it meets those characteristics. But it is a depression. It's a low spot here, and by conservation guidelines, we need to respect a certain perimeter around that wetland and not disturb it at all. We have to save the trees. We can't regrade there at all. And so this building pad shown in white here, this building zone, really is located kind of between those 2 landforms, in a way is shaped by them, because we do need to have these drop-off circles, and the vehicles need to circulate in that form, but it also works with the contours in such a way to minimize how many trees we have to cut down and how much grading we have to do in order to fit a building in there. To accommodate the topography, the it has a couple implications on the building design. One is that we're looking to do a multi-story building. It will not be a single story like the current school is. It's growing from 60,000 square feet all the way up to virtually 100,000. It's a very large building. If it were all on one floor, it would be a great distance from the most remote classroom to the cafeteria or to the gym. It would really sprawl. It would take up much more land. It's more economical to stack things that can be, particularly classrooms. And it's better from an energy point of view and more economical from a construction point of view too. And so we're actually considering a 3-story classroom wing, and in the center portion of the building, the major spaces are actually just 1 story high, but they're high spaces. You know, the cafeteria is a higher than normal ceiling, a gym is a higher than normal ceiling. So those spaces are located at this portion of the site here. This is that common lobby in the middle of the building, access from either side, and these are the classroom wings at this side. So if we look at that now, I've rotated the plan there a little bit, but again, the common lobby is right here in the middle of the building. The gym is on one side, the larger space is on the left here, the classroom area is on the right. Again, to accommodate the topography, the sloping land, there's actually a split level entrance in this proposal here. The bus drop-off is on this side of the building. If you arrive at the school by bus, you enter the building here and into this lower lobby, and there's a stair to bring you up. If you arrive by car, you arrive on the other side of the building here. You enter into that same lobby 1 floor up. Now, immediately adjacent to the administration area here, the cafeteria here. And again, the classroom wings are virtually identical on each floor. And those shared spaces, the library in particular, and art and music are in the center part of the building here. So the classrooms, as I say, are nearly identical on each floor. They consist of 7 classrooms, which include special ed classrooms, special ed resource rooms, boys and girls rooms, teachers areas, including the teachers' restroom right here, so that it really breaks down a school for over 750 children into smaller learning communities. That the students obviously still travel through the building to go to lunch or to go to the library or to go to gym, but they don't have to travel the length of an entire school passing other classroom wings. There's no reason for a student from here to go into this classroom area here, and so it's a more compact plan by having these wings and by stacking it up on 3 levels. So the upper level, again, the classrooms look identical, and again, some shared spaces in the center of the building here. Let me show you 3-dimensionally what that would look like.
Can you see? Yeah.
Let me go to, I just need to exit out of this software and go to another software right here. This is an overall view of the upper level entrance here. So this is the vehicle, the car entrance. So if parents are driving children to school, they pull up around this circle here. This is the main entrance into that central lobby right here. You can see this is that wetland and the trees and all that would be undisturbed around it. Again, the notion is with this school is to preserve as much of the natural environment as we can, both for environmental reasons, for educational reasons, to make it part of the curriculum, but also for economic reasons too. The less land moving we have to do, the more economical the solution will be. And so that's one reason for the split level design, is that we're working with the natural topography. So we won't have to get great bulldozers in there and cutting trees and clearing land over a great extent to create a big level platform.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is that a convex roof over the lobby?
What's that?
Is that a convex type of roof over the
Yes,
lobby?
it is. When you enter the lobby, it's a high double height space. I can actually get closer
Snow come
here.
off that?
We're actually.
I asked that question.
We're actually
Everybody
utilizing
does.
this. The entire building obviously is going to be designed to today's codes and will meet snow loading and structural requirements there. The notion is that you enter into this lobby here, and it's a high bright space getting light from above It serves as the entrance to the school, but also the lobby for the cafeteria and downstairs to the gym as well. As part of the environmental theme of the school, one of the things we'd like to do with that roof, if I move this a little bit, you'd be able to see, let me slide this over here, is actually use that to collect rainwater, and not only that area, but the rest of the low slope roofs to collect rainwater to use for irrigation. So it doesn't just go back into the ground as stormwater that has to be managed, or worse, run off the site into the abutters' land. We're trying to collect as much as we can, reuse it for irrigation. And the roof, again, this is, I should mention the entire design is sort of a work in progress still. We wanted to meet with you today to get you up to speed as to where we are. Literally, we just met with the building committee last night and are still discussing some of these things. But the notion is that there'd be many green, sustainable strategies to the building, including solar panels right here, perhaps a green vegetated roof for a small portion of this, and perhaps even a little outdoor classroom here that could be utilized for science. It could be a weather station, could be to see that rainwater collection system and so forth. But more, to the point, just to share with you, obviously the notion is that the lobby is a bright, welcoming space, and it's a gesture to express that on the elevations here. Backing up to the organization again, just so you can see it. That's the main lobby, obviously, where the glass is. To the left is the cafeteria, with again a nice large south-facing window. It'll be a very bright, pleasant cafeteria. And to the right of that entrance, on this level here, is the administration. And then these are the classroom wings that stack up. And again, on this side of the building, they're 2 stories tall. On the other side, if we rotate around here, you can see how the building is sort of tucked into the hillside here. So on this side of the building is 3 stories tall. You can see that there. And this is the bus entrance down below, the library on the middle level here, with the high ceiling in the library, high windows in the gymnasium, so there's natural light there. There'll be, the intent is that there be plenty of natural light throughout the school. Again, that's another green, sustainable features. The classrooms have very large windows, and we'd propose a system where the electric lights in the classrooms are actually interconnected with daylight sensors. So when it's bright outside, the lights actually dim, and you save energy. You don't need the electric lights on, and the classrooms again will be very pleasant, bright spaces. So,
question.
Sure.
In the gym, and this is a silly question, but those of us who have kids who play basketball, the current gym at Pembroke, there's a window up there, and the sun comes in, and it's like blinding. Is that in consideration?
I understand that. It is a consideration. Fortunately, we've cited this in a way that most of these windows are facing north. A couple of these are facing west there, but we believe, or I'm sorry, east. No, west on that side. I'm sorry, that's west. But we believe that, again, we'll study that and make sure that we don't get direct sunlight in there for that reason. And there's ways to deal with the glass, too, that we can make it more translucent, and it doesn't have to be just clear vision glass in there if that is the case. We can do this actual program, cast shadows, and we can do sun studies at any time of the day, any day of the year. Okay. So we've thought of that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
And just to share with you the sort of massing, again, as you come around here, on these are the classroom wings now, and they sort of form an outdoor courtyard, which again has some potential for outdoor use. But the hope is that the building is tucked in close to the trees, relatively close, so that again it feels like its site is named the school in the woods, and it becomes part of the curriculum that. From all of these classrooms, when you're looking out these windows, not only are you getting nice daylight, but you're getting views not of parking lots, but of green areas or treed areas, that sort of thing. So that's basically where the design is at. As I said, we've had several meetings with the building committee and with the the school staff and faculty. We're going to be meeting with the community, as Ellie said, on Monday the 23rd. We're looking for input from all sources as we move forward here. Although the building committee has a good cross-section of the town, and we're getting good input from them as well as we move forward here.
Can you show them where the playground is?
Oh, sure. Off of one side of the building here, right here. Let me rotate it around here. Let me slide this down here. So this is the bus drop-off side of the building here, right at the end, immediately adjacent to this entrance, is a playground, and it's intended to be a paved, both a combination of paved playground where you could play basketball and hopscotch and run around and those sorts of things, and then play structures, which has a rubberized surface where you'd have swings and climbing structures and things like that. Still to be determined exactly what those are, but this is the large area flat that can be used for that, adjacent to the school, but there are no windows, fortunately, so we're not disturbing classrooms by playing right outside there.
And then the grassy part.
Yeah, this area over here is envisioned, as we said, as a potential amphitheater or outdoor classroom kind of space in that area, where it could be where you take a class and or two, and again on nice weather or even slightly inclement weather, I guess you could go outside and utilize that space as well. Again, it's away from any parking lots. It's quiet. It's safe. You don't have to cross any roads to get there. The one issue with the site we did talk about, if I go back to sort of the overall, in choosing this site, one of the advantages is that the current school's play areas are not disrupted at all during the construction phase. All this construction activity is taking place, south of the existing school in the Woodard area. And when the new school comes online, the existing building would be demolished and replaced with playing fields right there. Those playing fields are a few hundred feet from this school. They're not directly adjacent to the school. So it's a little bit different than the people are used to at the school now, where the playing fields are and the playgrounds are a little bit closer to the current school building itself. Here, to access it, you'd go from the gym or from this entrance around the corner, and as I say, a couple hundred feet to get to the new play fields. But in the end, the town ends up with a larger inventory of playing fields than they currently do by locating the school here. So that's where we're at. I'd be happy to answer whatever thoughts or questions you have.
So the snow won't build up on that roof.
I guess the thing that makes me so nervous is I see this this roof going in right over the entranceway, and
where the snow is going to go.
It's daring, isn't it? I guess it's.
Yeah.
Well, if
it
it
is
the other way, it's all going to fall off in front in the classroom.
Right.
It's
Right.
the
You know,
door.
Can't win.
Right.
The snow is going to build up on all these roofs. It's designed that way. They're structured that way. It's not unusual by any means. This ridge right here, or this valley, I mean, is actually pitched here. So yes, snow will
run.
form there as much as any roof, but it will melt slowly and be collected, and it's structured to carry that. That's not an issue.
It's toward the collection,
So, right,
wherever you're doing it.
exactly. It's pitched back to the collection point there.
Okay.
So and we'll collect rainwater from all of these flat roofs and hold it in a cistern, an underground tank, and be able to use it, as we say, for irrigation and so forth.
That's great.
Cool.
Great idea.
Looks great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Are there any science labs in there, in those classrooms?
That's a.
I'm sorry. Did
It's
you
a
already answer that?
No, we didn't answer it.
It's somewhat of a controversial thing with the state, because in their typical program for elementary schools, they don't provide for a science classroom, a dedicated science classroom. In a way, they say science should be able to be taught in any classroom, and we say, fine, we can do that. We do have one in the program, though, because we were specifically bringing the 6th grade back from the middle high school where they're used to having a science classroom. So we're literally discussing that right now. The state may say, we'd prefer you not have a dedicated science room. We'd say, fine, let's just make it a general classroom then. We don't want to lose a classroom in the overall count.
Because that's a factor, because
Absolutely.
MSBA, we're building a school for, what did we say, 700?
770.
770. But it provides for 5 classrooms at every grade. And right now, we have some classrooms that are 6. So what you're thinking, if it's 3 years out, right? So, you know, the K and 1 are now 5. You know, the current 2nd grade needs 1 less, but the 3rd grade needs 1 more. So 3 years out, we figure we would just have enough classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
But that assumes that we're not going to get a huge growth. I mean, that's one of the things you have to battle with MSBA about. They don't want any what they call extra space. That's why what Carl is saying is, if you look at the plans, you'll see that there are full-size special education classrooms there. You know, there's also art. You know, 2 art rooms, 2 music rooms,
a computer lab,
the
a science lab.
the science space. I mean, so there is an opportunity if we ran into a situation to do swing space. But what we don't want to do is 10 years from now be looking at what we're looking at Pembroke right now, which is we have a science lab, but it's a classroom. We have other rooms that were set up, but they're now classrooms.
Teachers' workrooms.
Teachers' workrooms.
Classroom.
But we did like a
Well, we're looking at-
population study.
Well, we're looking at the enrollment projections, but
Right.
some of the members of the building committee, understandably, I think, are a little skeptical of that, given the fact that the middle high school had a renovation, and now we're tight.
Right.
And then Pearlie had a renovation, and we still have art and music in the basement, and not enough small group spaces. So, you know, I
But when we
think
did
that's
that
what the word.
renovation, how much enrollment work did we do to understand what kind of space?
I wasn't here,
that's
so
what
I don't know.
I guess, you know, I wonder, you know, now, I mean, things have moved along, so
The
you're more
current practice is for the MSBA to provide the enrollment projections for each
Right.
city and town.
Right.
So they did that,
Yeah.
and they're the ones who projected 770 for grades K
Right.
through 6.
So we just raise it just
Yep.
because it's something, you know, think about, we want to be in a situation where we have enough space, right, but not more space than we need. So it's that delicate balance of looking, you know, into the future.
And that science room, by the way, is located right up here.
Okay.
You know, strategically, so that door could be used.
access to the green
Access
space.
to this outdoor space, if it wants to be used. That's still to be
Down with your
determined.
science,
You
right?
know, it's obviously a new idea
With all the
that
science
they haven't
kids
yet
lined up against the wall.
thought about fully. So.
And what is the
Okay.
window that shuts out?
And this is the lobby space, so anyone who, you know, just comes up to the 3rd floor via the stairs would have an opportunity to view out here. So if this were developed as student gardens or as a vegetated roof, as it's known, a green roof, as opposed to just a, you know, rubber membrane or something like that, you know, you can see that from the school. One of the things that we like to encourage in school design, particularly elementary school design, is to make the building part of the curriculum, so that you know, in the normal course of the day, the students can see some of these things going on. You know, oftentimes there are high efficiency boilers, or there may be solar panels up on the roof, but nobody can see them, and you kind of lose a little bit of value. That you're paying a lot of money for some of these things. It'd be nice to get some use and some integration into the curriculum. So that's what we try to do with many of these things. Okay.
I love it.
Looks fantastic.
Okay. Great. Thanks
you.
for your attention. We
Great.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess the big thing for everybody is if we have questions to ask them now, or to, of course,
you could go through Carol.
we can go
She's
through
obviously part of
Carol
the-
and we can go
she'll
through
get into
Ellie,
us.
Michelle, and filter them through. So
And
in-
obviously Rob's your,
Yeah.
Rob's your
Rob's the rep,
representative
right.
to our building committee.
and in 2 weeks we'll vote
Yes.
to approve or disapprove the.
Does anybody want to know if any of the building is air conditioned?
Yeah, the lobby and the
Well,
computer room.
He'll tell you.
Yes, yes. Let me go to the plans. I'll
Thank
show
you,
you.
Jim.
If we look at the main level plans,
I
probably the
just
best
assumed
way.
that it would be because
No, the whole building isn't though.
No, again, one of the state guidelines these days is that elementary schools are not typically fully air conditioned, 100%.
okay.
And you know, if a district chooses to do it, they'd be on their own, not getting reimbursed, not eligible for reimbursement. So the way the building's organized, these classroom wings, basically up to the stairwell here in each wing, would not be air conditioned. They'd be fully ventilated and fresh air and operable windows, and obviously
screens?
heated with screens, but not air conditioned. The center part of the building would be air conditioned. So that's where the library is, that's where the administration is, and there are a couple classrooms there. So if there were summer programs, you'd have some classrooms available that are air conditioned. And then the cafetorium would be as well. That's an assembly space. In May and June, you have some end of the year assemblies. It's a nice feature to have. The gym is not air conditioned. You go there to sweat and run around, and they don't want to pay to air condition that. So
And can you block off the wings, like if there's summer
yes,
programs
exactly.
going on?
You may not be able to see it on this level. Right there and here is a door.
Okay.
Those doors could be locked. They could be locked at the end of each day, typically. So in the evening, if the building's being used, no one gets access beyond that.
Are they fire doors?
And they're fire doors, and they swing in such a way so that if you were on the other side and need to get out, they're always open. But they're locked from this side.
And the size of the gym?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The size of the cafeteria.
It's a little bit larger than the current gym, and it doesn't have those windows and the structure that kind of impose on the court now.
Okay.
And it's large enough. Let me go.
Is there room for bleachers or?
Yeah. Here's the plan. You see that line right there?
Right.
That line right there is the size of an adult-sized basketball court.
Okay.
50 by 84 is the dimensions, and with the proper apron around three sides of it, the fourth side here, there is room for a couple rows of bleachers or standing room for parents to watch a game or something like that. As to whether bleachers are actually put into the program or not is still a question, because again, the MSBA says at an elementary school level, we don't want to be building stadiums and things like that. But the town can choose to do
There
that.
would be space to put
Right.
a few levels.
A couple.
In. Okay.
Right. And the cafeteria is sized large enough, and the kitchen and servery is sized large enough so that there would be a need for just 3 lunch shifts. You could take 1/3 of the population at any one time in the cafeteria, which is theoretically what Pembroke is sized for today, but it doesn't work that way. Partly because the servery is too small. They can't get enough kids through the lines fast enough to have that size. So we will have a larger servery than the current school does, and enough seating space, as we say, for 1/3 of the population.
What is this area?
This is all the kitchen
That's
here.
all kitchen, okay.
So these are support spaces for the kitchen.
Can you access the cafeteria or the gym directly from the outside, or do you have to go through the lobby?
We'd consider it more egress than access. We don't recommend coming directly in, again, because
Okay.
there's just a single door. It's not a good weather protection. If your shoes are muddy or wet, you're bringing in that. You should really go through a vestibule.
Okay.
It becomes a security issue too. You like to bring
Right.
everybody through the court.
Right.
Sometimes, if these things purely are egress, we don't even put doorknobs on the outside.
Okay.
So they're just for egress from inside. You want to encourage people to go through the vestibule and then into the building. It is right
Margaret.
immediately adjacent.
Margaret wanted to.
Well, I guess that does, I have a couple of questions about that. I'm curious, I've spent a good deal of time managing the flow of traffic of children coming and going from lunch and the playground. So if they don't leave the playground, how do they get to the playground?
If they don't
They're on opposite side. Well, they're not leaving the cafeteria, so children are going through the school to go out to the playground.
Playgrounds are over there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
The,
it's
the
the other
lobby,
side.
the lobby gives access, outdoors here and down the stairs, and access out this way. And the playground is over here. So you come out of the cafeteria, down these stairs, and along a walkway here to the playground there. If you go to recess after lunch, that's the flow.
And then one playground is not a primary?
We're looking at the notion of having a smaller playground up here adjacent to the cafeteria, but the thought was, unless we can get it large enough to be significant, it might be more of a supervision issue, that, if it's only large enough for 20 or 30 kids, and you have to put one teacher there, maybe it's not serving you well. Maybe it should be, large enough for 40 or 50 or 60 kids, or not have one at all, because the supervision is kind of precious, and you don't want to spread people around unnecessarily.
But Carl,
Well,
part
the
of
entire playground is near the
Right, when you
kindergarten.
when you put equipment in the playground, though, you'll account for that. That there's equipment for bigger kids and equipment for little kids.
Age appropriate
I mean, it's
equipment.
just, it isn't right outside
right.
their door.
Right. And going back
Actually,
to the...
it would be right outside their door, wouldn't
It's
it?
right outside kindergarten's door.
Kindergarten's door,
Yes,
yeah.
it's very accessible for them. He-
No, because I think if I understand your question, with would there actually be she's asking like if sixth grade was out at recess, it would be right outside.
Let me
The
go to
kindergarten.
the.
kindergarten doors.
Yeah.
No, it's not right out. There are no doors directly into the kindergarten rooms.
So that,
No, but it would be right outside there.
This is a stairway, so it's right outside the stairway door.
Oh, okay.
I see.
But there are no windows there, so playing here does not disturb any classes
That looks like
adjacent.
a great wall ball
So-
wall.
Yes, you can play ball against the wall if you want, and
Kids
foursquare
don't mind
and
those windows.
that sort of thing.
Okay, close those up.
And how many
So-
kids, Carl, I don't remember if I asked you this before, how many kids could the playground area
We're
like
sort of
comfortably accommodate
yeah, we're
at
trying
one
to
time?
confirm that right now. It's well over 100 at a time here, probably 150.
But if you're having
But-
250 kids eat lunch at a time,
It could be right that we need to look, and that's why we need to develop that other one even larger than
Right.
initially
Or you just
thought.
add to the green.
Right.
You lose some of the amphitheater thing and put more over there.
There are a couple possibilities. This school is not that far from the green play space that will be, the playing fields. And again, given adequate supervision, kids could be using that too at recess for those
the
that
problem
want
is the
to run
adequate
around.
supervision.
I mean, honestly, as Carl has said several times, there are a lot of advantages to having school in the woods, but one of the disadvantages to the school in the woods is there are some limits. And so arguably because of the topography, it would be nice, and everybody that's talked about this plan says the same thing. It would be nice to have the playground as the kids have it now, where there's not only a place for them to play that's, tarred or paved, but that they have the green space there right in the same location. The problem is the topography is not going to allow it because it drops off.
Right.
So they literally have to go through, not through the parking lot. I mean, we're going to have to figure that
Around
out.
the edge
But they've got to
yeah.
cross. They got to go out near that parking lot, which would be staff parking, I think is what you said. So these cars are going to be stationary, but you can't just walk from the playground right to the green space.
But I thought this was green space.
Well, that's
It is, but it's not, a soccer field or something. It's about the size of a softball, infield or something.
But it's a place where kids
That
can
sort
run
of
and play.
Right. I mean, we're talking
Well,
about.
You got to be careful
Right.
because
That's
the windows are right here, and you don't really want loud, recess kind of play going on right outside of the classroom. So
Yeah.
it limits,
I'm lobbying for
the
that.
kinds of activities that you'd want here,
One
and
of the
it's
things-
also probably not going to be flat either, perfectly flat in that sense.
One of the things we discussed last night at the meeting was due to the shape of it, almost like an amphitheater, that perhaps there would be some type of seating that could go around and kids could gather there if they wanted and sit and chat, especially the older kids, the 5th and 6th graders. They might not necessarily want to be running around. They might like to just sit and visit with their friends. So that would be more quiet type gathering, but still easy enough to watch if someone was stationed right there.
I think that's an area we're still looking at because I think
Right.
we
And-
still have some.
We still have questions about it.
Yeah, we still have questions about it. We don't think we quite.
Like the
important
rooftop
thing is
area, this area is open
Yeah.
for
Yes.
future
Yeah.
development. And probably the day the school opens, we won't have fully thought out how to use every space, which is
Yeah.
kind of nice. You can sort of grow and evolve into them, depending on who the principal is and the teachers are at the time. 10 years from now, it may all change.
How many lunches do we have now? Donna, do you know?
Is it four?
4? And how many? And you have 400 students?
We have, close to 500. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, so you're doubling the size of the kids that are going to go through lunch and cutting the space by half.
While you're
No,
cutting,
the space is larger.
The playground space is
Oh, I'm
large.
sorry. I thought you were talking
The
cafeteria.
Playground
dining.
space for the outdoor space that they have now.
Right, because they have a grassy
Yeah.
area with which to
Right.
play.
Right.
So they have that, but
They
what,
have that.
what Carl
It's
is
just
saying
gonna
is you have
require
to get to
supervision.
You just
it.
have to
Yeah.
walk to
It's,
it.
Right.
it's not
Yeah, and
periphery. It's not on the periphery.
right, and the issue that we have is supervision. I'm not saying
Yeah.
we don't have enough supervision now, and that's going to cost money.
Well,
It's
Unless everyone goes to one spot.
we understood that there's,
Right.
perhaps 4 people out there at a time during recess. So if
Really?
No.
Donna, 4 people supervising.
right, so a couple
For
could be
100 right now.
well,
Yeah, so you're going to double that to 250.
sure, but a couple could be at one area and a couple could be
Yeah.
at the other area.
If it's a small area, you don't need.
It's an open area, so it's easy to supervise from one location in that sense.
Like Carol said, it's not the ideal,
No.
because of the woods.
Right.
You know, I don't know that you get the ideal. I mean, it's such a beautiful setting. You know, the town is taking advantage of having some extra space, the extra fields, which can be utilized. You know, it is definitely going to take some thought, and it's hard because people are used to a routine now, and let's face it, it's different. And as a teacher, I appreciate that that's a little bit further.
There's pros and cons to both, and this is
Absolutely.
just the one that we're hitting
Absolutely.
right now.
And Carl knows that's been the one thing that we keep bringing up, and he's working really hard trying to see if he can develop the spot a little bit more. Both spots, by the cafeteria as well as what is set up now as the playground.
Okay.
Maybe there is a way to have some grassy area around that sort of amphitheater where it's not for kids that are going to play soccer, but it's for maybe kids that just want to be able to run around in that location. So I think we're trying to hear what the issues are, and I know, for the kids, the playground is important to them.
Yeah, we're
Our
looking
ability
at
to maintain it is.
we're looking at this area up here too, which is adjacent to the cafeteria, right
Hey,
here.
can I ask Margaret and Donna about that? See where he's pointing to off of the kitchen. Now remember, the other playground's way over here.
If you look straight down on it, you can
So-
see it too.
Yeah, can we do that?
Right over here.
Yeah, is that worth putting a play structure there for 20
Well,
kids?
No, that's what we said. If we can develop it large enough to make it worthwhile, we're
oh.
looking into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, when I'm looking at the times where children have the hardest time, it's during transition. So if we're leading 250 children from a cafeteria out to a playground, and they're having to go through a school, downstairs, out and around a building, and we're looking at supervision, that is a huge transition 5 or 6 times a day. A lot of children traipsing through a school, long lines, and I know from another school where I was also it was a fairly new construction, and the playground was not very close to the cafeteria, and every day when I was on duty, why would they put a playground so far away from a cafeteria? So I would just, if there were a way to think about that, and
We are.
yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask what kind of plumbing it is? Like, are the toilets going to be the self-flush toilets?
Automatic, yes. Low flow, yes. We're even considering waterless urinals. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but that's new technology. Literally, you don't need any water.
Really? No.
We have to talk to the facilities department about it because it takes still has some maintenance, but definitely automatic, right? So that one of the issues with faucets, you put your hands under in the water. Those are a maintenance item as well. Sometimes the batteries, run out and have to be monitored. And an option is the kind you press and they turn off after a certain amount of time. But we understand we want to do what we can for those children that don't, turn things off, that like lights or faucets that they shut off automatically.
Just thinking, Ann and Barbie, there are some. Paul sent me some stuff. I think for if they were going to try to get green points, there are some policies and resolutions that the school committee has to do.
Yes,
I'm wondering if that's one of the things, Pat, that you guys could do is see if you can help scare up some good models of them, rather than us trying to figure out, what do we have to say, what does this have to look like?
We're working on that now with DRA.
Because Paul highlighted and said,
Yes.
this is what you
Yeah.
need to do, which is fine, but we just have to follow our procedures here. If it's a policy, it needs like two readings and a distribution time.
Things
So
like no idling of buses.
no,
longer than
I'll talk to Cindy Adams about that because
One of the items that you should consider, you talk about capturing rainwater from the roof for irrigation. You can get some points from MSBA if you also use that water you capture for flushing toilets.
We are thinking of that.
Okay.
We are.
That's an interesting point. One of because we have a project like that in Woburn. The Woburn High School did that.
Yes.
Problem we ran into is that it requires a completely separate plumbing system inside, and it also requires tremendous filtration and ultraviolet disinfection. So we have a section that's about the size of this room, that's got 3 or 4 different micron filters, and then it goes through a UV arrangement, and then the piping is all separate, and the cost of that is astronomical. The cost of the irrigation system is very, very economical, because you take it, you capture it, there's no filtration, there's no ultraviolet disinfection
You
required.
just return it.
Exactly. But if you start using it as a demonstration flushing project, which you can do, the cost was very disappointing. We
Really?
probably wouldn't have done it at the time if we had analyzed every part of the cost and understood what filtration and ultraviolet disinfection was required.
I just know the MSBA likes thoughts like the green program.
Yeah, we are, you're referring to there are 2 additional reimbursement points you can get for being a green school, which we intend to capture in this project. So it's significant money. 2% of a $30 million construction or whatever it might be is $600,000 that the state additional will contribute.
Okay.
So you can afford to put a lot of energy conservation measures in that you'll reap the benefit of year after year going forward.
Well, it's a full intention for this building to be a great building and capture those 2 points.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, can you, Carl, can you explain to the board, to the board that I'm part of, what it is they'll be approving in 2 weeks? Is that right?
Your next meeting. Your next meeting, 2 weeks, is it?
26, 2 weeks.
Shut this down.
Just so that they understand what it is that they're approving.
The package that's going into the state is a schematic design package that describes the scope of the project and has a cost estimate that goes with it.
Is that this? Is that this, Carl?
It's the next version of that. We're putting it together right now. It's not going to be ready
I'm happy to pass it
until
around just so you can page through and see what's in it.
The plans. These plans are getting close because we have to allow some time for the cost estimators to do their work. So they have about another week's worth of time of development, and then we have to turn it over to the cost estimator. So you'll be seeing plans roughly at this level of resolution. 3-dimensional model, floor plans, site plan, and then all of the budget estimates that go with it. So describing the extent of materials, the structural system, the mechanical system, the amount of site grading and drainage and so forth will all be fully described. Because at the end of this phase is when the town forms, in essence, a contract with the state that says, this is what we intend to build, this is how much it's going to cost, this is when we're going to build it, there's a construction schedule that goes with it, and both parties basically agree to it.
And this is what the state's going to reimburse you.
And
It's
the
gonna have all of
reimbursement
that information
is all
together.
set.
So that's the arrangement that you're going to buy. You're going to buy the scope and the budget at that point.
Obviously, from the state's point of view, they're looking to you as a school committee to, in essence, have reviewed the educational aspects of the project and say, you're in support of that. The building committee is looking at sort of the big picture of the entire building. The selectmen also need to sign on the submission too, so that they understand the financial aspects of the project. So the MSBA is just making sure that all parties in town are represented.
Do we know if the MSBA is on board to date with us, with what we're proposing?
We were just there yesterday.
Yeah, that,
we're waiting for that answer, Ann, right now. Literally.
But there are some follow-up.
I know that the grade configuration was a question, last time, the K to 6, because we had.
Yeah, they didn't question that this
Okay.
time.
problem with that.
All right.
Well, we had to respond to that. They did
Right.
ask a question initially. We responded to it. They seem to be fine with the educational benefits of it.
Okay.
The question they have that relates to that, however, is, and we still are trying to work this through with them, is what happens to Pearlie.
And I see that as being a big question, not only for maybe our committee, but for the town at large. Because we had just done that. I say just. In Georgetown
14
terms,
years
if it was
ago.
done within 20 years, it was just done. Because we had just completed that renovation, and that building will be not as populated as it is right
And the
now.
state at the time shared in that renovation cost.
Exactly.
That's why they're concerned a little bit.
Yeah, that's. With good reason.
Yeah, with good reason. The intention, the thinking at this point is what would happen to Pearlie in those spaces that would be vacated by the kindergarten on that back wall. There's 4 of them. that what we would do is we would, because there's a demand for preschool, we have a waiting list. There's the Boxford's preschool's closing, the preschool's closing next to the Pentucket Workshop.
They're not closing.
Or they're not, well, we were told they have to move because the building's being sold, but they didn't have a spot.
They
We were
have a
told
spot.
okay, good to know. So the fact is that there's still a need, plus we're having more and more students coming out of early intervention that require spots that we in the past maybe have gone to people who wanted a preschool program. So the plan would be to expand those preschools to integrated preschools, to have at least 2 more preschools. And then one of those rooms, or 2 of those rooms, would be used for, their therapy rooms and the things that have to go along with programs that, have students that have significant needs. That doesn't seem to be as much of an issue. It's what happens to the first grade wing. And our thinking was, well, in order to help alleviate the high school, we could move maybe some of our more self-contained, like our middle school special ed and our high school special ed program there, bring all the rooms and the therapies and the things that they need there. The problem is that that's not an inclusionary setting.
Mhm.
And so they have concerns about that. Now, some of those kids we brought them back from out of district, so they were in a more restrictive environment. We wouldn't put the language-based kids wouldn't be there, the kids that really require the day-to-day mainstreaming, but they don't like that. And my recommendation is we pull it off the table and we come up with another use. So last night we talked about this at the building committee, like what other, things could there possibly be. So of course our plan was always to move the special ed offices and some of the, the offices where people are kind of itinerants that need a home, to move them and the curriculum office over so all the central administration is in one location. They didn't seem to have an issue. They didn't bristle at that. It's really what's going to happen to that first grade wing.
Art rooms and
I would
music
say art and music.
For what population?
Don't we have a band room up
For
at
preschool.
Well, but we'll still have a classroom. If we have 4 classrooms in that back wing and we expand by 2 preschools, we'll have a place for an integrated arts room, and then we'll have a place for early intervention and, the therapies and the motor room, okay? The issue, though, so we were looking at it, some of the ideas that were shared last night, maybe you have others that we can think of, are, the fact that we do have some need for some classroom space at the high school. If kids were at a private school with multiple buildings, they'd be going between buildings. So could we offer some particular classes at Pearlie as an overflow to the high school? That might be one idea. The other was, because we have like early childhood development programs, we restored that position. It's also the foods. Because it's preschool children, can we use a couple of those classes for early childhood classes so they actually have a laboratory? And then we thought it would be worth just saying, look, what, there are issues in the town that, come up, adult education, education for seniors, just what other kinds of education, without necessarily saying it's our student population, could we use those rooms for, and see if that satisfies them. We'll see how it goes. Those were the ideas, that came up and were discussed.
The reason that I asked Pat Carl, to ask Carl to explain that to you, what you're approving, is I have my school committee hat on right now, and I'm looking down the road to this project and having it approved by the town and seeing this thing happen. And consensus is a very important fundamental part of that process. You're going to be asked in 2 weeks to sign off on pretty much everything. And we have 2 weeks. You've heard a couple issues that have come up tonight. And there are other issues that people have talked about that still need to be resolved. And a lot is happening very quick. Margaret raised some questions with flow of the building. And as a school committee member, and I am your rep, I want you guys to know that. Okay? That's it.
So will you come back in 2 weeks with these issues kind of resolved and ironed out?
Well, to the best of our ability.
That's what you're tasked with over the next
consensus.
2 weeks? Okay.
As has been said, there's some, compromises and pluses and minuses to various options. That we want to share that with everyone as we go, so that we can make, the best kind of informed choices here. So
It's amazing.
Oh, sorry, Ally, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's amazing how much the plan gets tweaked every time we see it.
Mhm.
So my suggestion is, if you're available, come to the community meeting also,
Mhm.
because that will give you another chance to see it and have been thinking about it and, ask questions also.
No, it's a good idea. Something just came to mind. What if MSBA doesn't buy any of the ideas of how we're going to fill the space?
Then
What
they,
are our
then,
op-
they, then they will say,
Build
What-
outsize your project.
either that, or they'll say you can build it, but it's on your
yeah,
cost.
Right.
Okay.
So just to put it in numbers, right? Just use the kindergarten, right? Moving the kindergarten there is a $5 million. I'm rounding, $5 million ticket.
5 million total, half of which
is Georgetown's share. But if they were to say, okay, we get it educationally, and you're in support of it, you're solution for 50 years, you can move it, but we're not going to reimburse you for it.
And
Do you have a backup plan? A
The
backup
backup-
design if they say downsize the project? What do you do? Cut the third floor off the
No.
second wing?
no, not that.
That's how it does. That's not how it works.
not that
That's
neat.
simple. But again, we don't anticipate that.
No.
We don't anticipate that they wouldn't dictate necessarily, the project. They may say what's eligible for reimbursement or not.
That's right.
That's the problem.
That's that's
Right, and so the town would have another decision to make as to how to move forward at
Right.
that point.
Right. That would have to come back again.
Right. And
that's all
we'll
within
come
like
to
the
you
next.
with our recommendation.
Right. Absolutely. You won't be
once
out of the
we
loop
hear.
on that.
And we'll have options.
Right.
Or not.
Okay.
And that will be the other thing we'll let you know.
All right, and then finally, how? Because I haven't been to the meetings. How's the consensus within the committee, the
building
school building
committee?
committee? As far as are we at there are 9 voting members? Am I correct?
Sure.
No, there's
there are
13.
13 voting members. Are we looking at 7 to 6 votes, or are we looking at 10
We
to
haven't
3?
done any votes. We're pretty
Yeah.
much doing what you just saw today, where Carl is showing us plans, and we're saying, geez, can you make the playground bigger? Can you get across the parking lot better to go to fields? I mean, we're asking all the same questions.
But you guys have to vote on a final.
We will be voting before you do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Can the principals look at this stuff? Because I know Margaret had some ideas.
Oh,
Have
yeah,
you guys
yeah,
looked at all
yeah.
this?
Well, Margaret hasn't, but
just there
Donna
Monday.
has.
We'll be back.
Donna has. Donna has.
Okay.
But that actually is something that I mentioned, I think, to Ellie, and we were going down to MSBA, and just I think we're just moving fast, but it is a big oversight. I believe it's a big oversight, and I was going to talk to Carl about this. Is we really should have talked to we really should have had the 6th grade teachers be invited and the Pearly staff be invited to this meeting. I guess in my mind, I was always thinking we would do it separately, but bottom line is it came up really quick. We need to talk to the staff. I asked Donna, when are you meeting with your staff? And then it went on, but it just didn't occur to me until after the fact, and I feel bad about that. But perhaps, we'll see what Carl's time is, but
we'd love to
perhaps
do
we
a
could,
follow-on meeting in any event,
we could
so.
certainly set that up, because I think it is important, because I think they do, the flow of the building, the things that teachers think about. 'Cause
Considering
I went to the
they're-
meeting
they
with
have
the
to live it.
teachers.
And the
It's
other
very important.
Well, the
It's
other
very important.
The other issue here is you have the ends of the spectrum that haven't been brought on board. You have the youngest and you have the oldest. We have the whole middle group taken care of, but
Right.
we need to make sure that we get.
Rob identified the challenge, the problem. It is a very aggressive timeline, almost too aggressive, but it is what it is, and we should have done it, and we didn't. So we're going to try to make that up now. Just the only other thing I would point out in terms of you asked for feedback for MSBA, one of them was this issue of special education and integration and moving them away from the high school and that not being favorable. The other was maintenance. They have some serious concerns and questions about whether or not, as a town and as a school department, but as a town, whether or not we meet their criteria as a district and a town that is going to be committed to maintaining this building, because their sense from the stuff they've reviewed is that there has been some question in the past about enough money being spent on it, that there were still some conditions that they felt that we had allowed to occur at Pembroke they feel should have been taken care of sooner. I think they have a little bit of a misconception. I mean, we clearly felt that they didn't really have the right picture, but one of the things we've been asked by MSBA to do is to provide evidence and documentation that, in fact, we have done things like the roof, the boiler, the painting of the halls every year, the repair of the cove base, the moving supplies out of places they shouldn't be by, getting a pod. Those are just a few that I can rattle off. Building the dog houses. Those are things. So what we're doing now is we're literally taking pictures of spaces that they have concerns about to show them, in fact, that it's been addressed. And it's not just the things we've done most recently. They want to see evidence that we didn't just say, oh, you're getting to get a building project. We quickly took care of things. They want to see that.
What were some of their misconceptions?
Well, that things just hadn't been maintained.
They were under the impression that perhaps there were a lot of rodents running around, and due to the damage on the vents and the torn screens.
Like that it was a real problem, though.
Right.
I mean, I won't say that there's never been a little mouse that's come into Pembroke, because we know there has been.
One ran up right past my head the other day.
There you go.
I was going to a basketball game.
But it's not how. I don't think it's to the extent that they think it is. So all we're going to do to that is we're just going to respond, with information that they can at least give them a sense that it isn't a building that's in total disrepair, that the district and the town is just allowed to go to a space where it's really not a good, safe environment for students. Repairing the unit ventilators that have worn out. I mean, there's a number of things that we can show that we've done, in good faith.
Okay.
Just want you to know that's another factor that they're looking for.
Right. There's mice in every house in this town. We live in the woods.
That's exactly.
Come on.
I teach in a city, and I have them there.
Yeah.
It happens. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Part of our science.
Let us know if you have
Thank
any
you very much.
questions.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for moving so fast with this.
I think Carl's team is going to need a big thank you. This is your notebook.
Oh, that's mine. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along quickly for us.
Okay.
Next up on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
And I'm moving forward.
Next up, middle school action plans, middle and high school principals. Would you like to do middle school first? Or Peter, are you starting?
Thank you.
Okay, go.
Oops, sorry. I'll move out of your way.
Where did this letter come from? Carol, where did we get copies of this letter from?
The one,
Gary's letter?
Yeah.
what was the question? He dropped it off at my office as a courtesy. So I'm letting you know. Yeah, I felt you should see it.
I don't know if I'd correct the factual inaccuracies or the grammar first.
Go with the facts.
I'll be brief.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And why would you say that, Peter?
He's under threat.
No.
By the chair.
You don't have a signal yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna get meeting high school staffs. Starting.
Signal is getting from here to there.
I'm shocked.
Try.
I forgot when I took, yeah.
They're gonna get mad at me about that.
How's the household?
Yeah, no, they all start. Yeah, all three of them.
Hope it's not a Mac problem, Peter.
Okay.
Actually, I'm running Windows on this.
That's probably the problem.
No,
have it, but
no, it was working.
Their breath's all so bad.
Good point. I'm gonna make that.
So good.
I like that. We were just talking about the air conditioning
German
situation.
infested little kids in the other
Jim
room.
was saying, you know, in 20 years,
What about you guys?
We're doing all right.
longer
Everybody's
school days,
everybody's
and the shorter school, and the longer school year is coming. All this extended learning time that this place is doing, at some point, so you know what?
During
Yes.
ski club?
If we ever had to think about that
Less
20 years down the road,
when they did that the
you know,
first
you would
year.
want, you would need air conditioning.
Oh, absolutely.
He's saying that one of the schools in
There we go.
Burlington.
Okay, we're in business.
I think we should
Brand
look
new,
at
just
that.
opened in
Brand new
September.
schools in
great.
Brookline, I mean, brand new.
Oh, so I'm just, I'm not sure.
I think we
Okay.
have to be real careful with the number we're
Are we
getting to
showing
right
what's
now.
in our
I-
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I hate moving. That's
But there may be other, that was
It
important.
hurts my
There may be
neck.
other things
Am I running
to
over?
move, you know what I mean? But I agree with you 100%. We gotta watch the number.
Okay, so I'm going to focus on the action
Yeah.
plan. So some of this stuff is, you have seen already, data, and we'll go right to mathematics. We're going to look at mathematics, science, in English, and I'll just use this one time for all three departments because we basically do things the same. We meet as a department. They analyze the data. They mark anything that students haven't scored 75% of the students haven't got correct as a weakness, and if they've got 75% or more or better, then that becomes a strength. So basically that's what we've done in all the departments. So again, should I go over the strengths or just?
I think if you just, they're up there, so
Yeah,
basically
everyone
if
has
there's
it.
anything that you're, you know, doing differently to accommodate for your areas of need, maybe that would be
We've
useful.
been this has been pretty consistent in terms of our strengths. The area, sometimes there's different kinds of questions on the test, so you might see a little different, like models is a little different. We haven't seen that before. Statistical methods was also an area we haven't quite got to where we need to go in terms of correcting that yet. Our SMART goals are we want to bring the aggregate number up and bring the proficiency percentage from 48% to 60% within the model strand. And the math department really ultra focuses 6 weeks before the MCAS exam. And they go over test questions from previous tests. They look at the kinds of problems that we have scored 75% or less. That's basically how they approach it.
Do they look in their actual curriculum, Peter, at where that standard is actually taught and determine whether or not they need to either, you know, increase the focus on that or spend more time on it? I hear what you're saying, and it's one thing to, you know, focus to do an MCAS prep,
Right.
but these kind of things are best done if they're over the course of a curriculum, tied into the curriculum. So I'm just wondering, do they adjust the curriculum to make sure that these things are really focused on well?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I think that's
guess
important.
Cover everything?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to, but.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
They're taking 6 weeks out to do.
Oh, I
Right.
see. Oh, I see.
No, but that's
Do they-
what I'm
do
saying. They
complete the whole
ultra
curriculum?
focus at 6 weeks before. They spend time on prepping for this exam.
Do they for the 6 weeks prior to the MCAS? Is that all they're doing?
No.
They're doing their regular. If they have a 45-minute class, they're doing half an hour of traditional or regular curriculum. And
Yes,
then,
it's incorporated into the some homework, some little extra things in homework and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that we don't drop. The
Yeah, you're not
curriculum.
stopping teaching.
Okay.
Right. But I guess to get to Carol's point, this isn't the only time we look at these things. We're looking at them all year long, but this is where we're really concentrating. The context of this presentation is, how are we going to accomplish, what are our SMART goals and how are we going to accomplish
Right.
it? So
Yep.
specifically, I'm talking about they really look at things 6 weeks prior to the exam, but it's going on, and you'll see in the other departments, it's going on all year long.
Ann, did you have a?
Do they do MCAS prep? Are kids that are in enhancement, are they receiving more, like, specific MCAS prep
That would be at the
in
middle.
enhancement?
That's middle
That's
school.
middle
just
school.
middle school?
That's just
Yeah.
middle
Okay.
school.
You don't do that at the high school level?
You have your level 3 classes.
We have our level 3 classes, which really there's more time and more individual attention because the classes are quite small to
Okay.
focus on that.
I mean, most of our 10th graders, are proficient in advanced. I mean, that's one of the things. We don't have a lot of kids who fail the test
Yeah.
in 10th grade, which says that the work we're doing along the way, not only teaching the curriculum, but in making sure the standards are covered and taught. Even some of these kids, remember the cohort data we showed, like the current 11th graders, when they were taking the test in 3rd grade, there was a far lower percentage of students in proficient and advanced, and then we followed that same group of kids, and as they get to, take the 10th grade test, that, it's a very low percentage.
Yeah, we haven't found the need to actually give a double dose in the high school.
That's our favorite term.
Another SMART goal that the math department has is they're going to increase proficiency percentages from 77 to 80% in the statistical method standard. And I really should make it known that this is a perfect example. This was probably one question. So you're talking about to move it 3% because it's only one question.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these strands they only ask 1 or 2 questions on.
Right.
So
Well, the test is different every year.
Yes.
Sometimes they
Sometimes they
emphasize
focus
different things.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Where do we teach statistical methods? What courses is that? Do we have like a statistics course, or do we?
yeah, but that this is incorporated in. Julie, you can help me. The algebra,
Okay, that's
Okay,
what.
so
That's
this
all I
has to
wanted
be
to
your yeah.
right?
algebra. Great.
Yeah, and there might be a little bit of it in geometry, but
Really?
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I don't say that with a lot of
Yeah,
confidence.
I'd have a hard time
Definitely
saying
algebra.
statistics and
But-
geometry.
But so that's we do have a statistics course, but it's for juniors and
I
seniors.
see.
So that wouldn't apply,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, it would not. And they're using the same kinds of things, different kinds of technologies and different strategies. The third SMART goal is to increase the proficiency percentage from 40 to 60% with symbol standards. There's more of that in the test symbol, so that's why the bigger move. And again, same kinds of things.
Peter, am I right? We have an MCAS grant, right, for in
Yes.
math and English. Are the kids who are having poor results or not poor, but the lower results are
We target them.
okay? So and I think that goes to your question. They don't have enrichment enhancement, but they do have an opportunity to have an after school
There isn't, yeah.
MCAS grant that we have where kids actually get targeted and have
They
the
don't have to
opportunity
pay
to
for
come.
that?
No, it's a
It's
grant.
a grant.
And
Yep. In
do we have
math
good
and ELA.
do we have good attendance?
No.
Oh, good.
We really,
Can you require it?
not really, no.
Well,
It's
sometimes
after
what
school
some
day.
districts do is they'll ask a parent to sign off that their child refused it, just because there's an accountability for that. You
Well,
know,
right.
that-
I guess
that-
that's my point. If we're offering it and people choose not to attend, there's not a whole lot more that we're
Right.
going to be
Why
able
should
to
the
do.
district get penalized?
We're going to get yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't get penalized or rewarded. It's
Well, we get
but
penalized
it's
in our results.
it's sort of like it's nice to be able to say, this was your result. We offered it to you, and you didn't take
Right.
advantage.
So we
of
get
it.
penalized in
Now, the
Final
kids that
scores.
I'm targeted, can they take advantage of it if there's not a high amount
No,
of
I
kids?
don't think so. I don't think the grant allows for
so
that.
it's
You have to have
You have to
you have to
pour-
score
you
at
have
a
to
certain
score.
level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and the last one, and this you'll see this again. This is one of, I guess, my biggest points of frustration across the school. We still aren't happy with how we're doing in open response questions, not just in mathematics, but across the disciplines in the school. So you'll see that all three areas have SMART goals for open response questions. And one of the ways that we want to attack this is there's a writing issue there. It's just not a mathematics issue. So we're working with the language-based program to try to get these kids to write better, and we think that will translate into the various academic areas. Science, our science scores are very, very good. I'll skip right over this because, again, it's the same type of analysis they use. We have an introductory physics. Science is a different type of test than the math and language arts test. Science test is an end-of-course test. So if you take introductory physics, which is physical science, you take the test at the end of the course, which is very different from the cumulative tests in math and language arts. 100% in introductory physics of students achieve proficient or advanced. These are ninth grade. We report 2 grades in science. Ninth grade for introductory physics, but they can also, ninth graders can also be in honors biology. A lot of kids in the honors track take biology as a freshman. So our biology scores are 9th and 10th grade, and then the regular biology kids. So 100% of our kids have scored proficient or advanced, 75% higher than the state average, and I know that's kind of data stuff, but we have strengths in heat and transfer and electromagnetic radiation, one of my favorite topics. We have some areas of need in waves and conservation of energy and momentum.
That's that momentum thing.
Yeah.
Peter, just a question for you.
yeah.
Who can take introductory physics
Anybody.
in grade 9? Any student.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, meet certain grades or anything like that.
You have to be an honors student to take biology.
Okay, but physics, anyone can take it.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I guess the answer to your question is that the kids that aren't honors students are taking physical science.
Okay.
So we want to increase the advanced category, and really that's a lot of our focus now, is to move kids from, in all of our areas, from the proficient to the advanced, and we are experiencing some success in those areas. So we want to try to move that up 5% in physics. The science department is really focused on using a lot of technology to do that. Things that we used to do with microscopes and things now can all be done online. If you go into Mrs. Cothran's room, you'll see a lot of probes, and she's kind of, any laptop that was ever laying around anywhere in the district is in her room somehow. So she has a nice little lab in there, and those are the kinds of things that they're using. And they're really focusing on the 8th grade test, and to see where the deficiencies are coming out of the 8th grade, and trying to hit those areas real hard in the 9th grade. Biology, our areas of concern, our strengths are chemistry of life, anatomy and physiology, and genetics. And we really have a lot of time to hit a lot of those things, because most of the biology students are in, they have a year and a half of biology. I want to correct myself about the physical science. Most 9th graders take integrated science. And integrated science is a half a year of physical science, and the other half is a focus on biology. Most schools do that now, because most schools take the 10th grade biology test. So the physical science kids that are in the 9th grade are honors kids.
That's what I was thinking when I saw that their writing was acceptable at that point. I was wondering if there was.
They're honest.
I have issues with writing.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to see if the how it was broken out.
Yeah, and we started that a couple of years ago. So
Okay.
I had a memory lapse. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
SMART goal in biology is to increase from 68% to 70% the ecology strand. Again, same kinds of things. A lot of multimedia-based instruction, a lot of technology. Really want to kind of fine-tune our lab experiments and stuff like that. And I guess I haven't been talking about success indicators a lot, but a lot of formative assessment kinds of things on a daily basis in the class, and if kids aren't getting it, it's kind of shift gears of instruction right then and there. And we do a lot of MCAS kind of simulated tests too to see how they're doing with that. Another SMART goal I have is to increase from 62 to 65% open response items in biology. Again, working on writing skills. We think that our writing across the curriculum initiatives are going to help in this area. The new literacy strands that we're incorporating into our curriculum we think are really going to help in this area. And we really need to focus on incorporating these types of questions in all of our quizzes, all of our weekly quizzes and unit tests and things like that. Another SMART goal is to increase by 6% the proficiency range on high school biology, in the high school biology thing, so we want to get that proficiency number up a little bit. Again, same kinds of techniques that they're going to use. And again, we're going to work with the language-based program to help some of those kids that are in that program that have scored lower than we would like them to. And finally, English. The strengths again, and I'm very proud of this one because this has been a traditional weakness, poetry, and now is a strength. So the actions that we have taken over the last couple of years have paid off. We are very strong. I am convinced that our strong English scores and our SAT scores are a direct result of the vocabulary work that we do. We don't just do context-based vocabulary. We supplement that very heavily with additional things, and I think that really makes our students shine when it comes to these areas. An area of need, again, is open response, the writing prompts, so we're really looking to increase that area. We'd like to bump that up by 9%. We're going to do a lot of focused essays and this type of essays, integrating keywords from essay prompts, a lot of thesis statement work, thesis statement development, and continue to hammer away at that. We again will work with the special education staff on teaching strategies, a lot of collaborative work with them, the language-based program, working with those teachers to develop units to use in those areas to help increase open response questions. Another goal is to increase the proficient range from 25% from needs improvement to proficient in that particular cohort. And same kinds of things, working with the special ed teachers, working with the language-based staff. And
so do teachers know, Peter, when they have a kid in their class, if there needs improvement?
Absolutely,
okay.
Yes. Any questions? That's
Any
fascinating.
questions? Thank you.
Good job. Okay, great, thanks.
No, hold on. Do you have questions?
Not enough wait time there.
I mean, I know
That was
you-
good,
you
though.
point out that in all three strands, they're weak in the writing.
Yes.
In the open response.
Yep.
And I just, do you have a theory as to why? Is it the test? Is it something that we're missing? I mean, because you guys you go over it every year, and I know that you're changing things and improving things and doing everything you're supposed to, yet we're still weak there.
Theory.
It's a relative
Yeah.
weakness,
Yeah,
right?
it's a theory because we have had focused professional development in that area over a couple years. It's been a major topic of concentration for at least 5 years, and my personal theory is it's very hard to prove this. I'm not happy with the amount and the types of open response questions that I'm seeing on when I look at regular exams through the observation process. So I guess I need to keep hammering away at that, and you know, maybe we need some more professional development in that area.
Do the teachers? Go ahead, Ann. Go ahead.
When they break it down for you, I mean, is it mechanics of writing? Is it topic
Good
development?
question, good
I
question.
mean,
It varies in the discipline that it is. So the answer is all of the above, depending upon if it's on a particular year in science and English or math.
okay.
I think that's why they set up a writing across the curriculum.
Right.
Because they're trying to say an
Right,
essay.
and I know they've been doing this. I mean, I'm listening to these.
Yeah,
This is my sixth one.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill, and I think it's probably time. I wouldn't be surprised to see that as a school improvement goal next year.
We've been talking about the importance of looking collaboratively at student work. So if we were to take samples of student work, like essays that kids are writing, you know, or compositions that kids are writing, and we all had a chance to score them individually, we may give them different grades.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
No
and that's
question.
that's what students face every single day.
Yeah.
So the question is,
Right.
there could be some more work perhaps done where the faculty, you know, really reviews the work collaboratively and really gets a good handle in their own minds as to, okay, what's an A look like for all of us, right? What's a B look? So then you know how you have to push the teaching to get kids to a certain level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe professional development.
For example, the English department, they have an exercise that they do periodically. They call it calibration, and that's exactly what they do. They look at student work and they say, you know, this is an A, this is a B. I have the social studies department doing it this year with the research papers and the research, because we've seen a lot of discrepancy on how those things are graded from teacher to teacher.
Right.
So we're beginning that process, and we will continue to expand upon that.
Do they still give you back? Used to be able to, and maybe you still can. They used to be able to give you a CD, so you actually get back every student's composition.
Yes, people.
Yes.
From the state. So you get every student's composition. And what I know some staffs will do is they will literally sit there and they will look at the range of students that were scored advanced. And they'll really look at the writing and say, okay, you know, what's the difference between this group that got advanced and proficient and needs improvement, and really help like gauge their own standards and expectations based on what they actually
Well, I think
review.
that the collaboration is key because you hear it all the time from parents, and I hear it all the time from parents. My kid gets an A in English.
Yeah.
Why is he bombing on the writing part of the MCAS test?
Yeah, very good question.
So that. I mean, that's the only thing I hear.
Yep.
Well, it's not the only thing, but.
Well, it would be interesting to hear from the teachers, from their
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
obviously, I hope they've been involved in this development. I'm sure they have been.
Yeah.
Um,
And we have to standardize our expectations. Too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So,
because that can be an expectation issue.
yeah.
We had that in when I first got here in some advanced placement
Right.
courses where kids were getting 2s and 3s, but they were getting A pluses on the for the course for the year, which.
I haven't seen a lot of essays. I've seen a lot of Baker Adams essays.
So does that
Right.
not-
Bring a lot of questions to my mind.
Right.
I guess, Rob, go ahead.
So does that not get addressed until it becomes a goal? a SMART goal? That
What?
the issue that you were just asking questions
Writing?
about, the writing?
Well, it's on for. I mean, it's a SMART goal for every single category now, for math, science, and English.
The open response.
Open response is all, and I don't want to put a percentage on it, but it's subject matter and how you present it. So meshing those two things together.
And is that
So
scored
it's
by
not
computer?
just writing.
Or somebody reads those. They read them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
those
not
are-
like WPP.
No.
But a computer randomly generates the
Yeah.
score.
Right, yeah, there is a human element.
Human element, because
Yeah.
people, as objective as we try to be, people who are in the business can be subjective. And
Absolutely.
you could have two people sitting side by side and the scores are completely different.
Yeah.
That's what they do. If they have people all score the test, and if there's a deviation, then they have the table leader review it, so that they get to a place where but it's a process.
Yeah.
Some of our teachers have actually scored MCAS. Every year they look for volunteers that are willing to, or people that are willing to take that task on.
Wow.
I just have one final question. I understand, like, trying to level the playing field so everyone understands what an A looks like and all that. My concern, and it has been since the dawn of time, I think, is the amount of writing the students actually do. How many essays do they write a week? Do they write, every week does a student have to write a one-page, essay about some topic? Do they have to write a couple paragraphs? I know I think it's grade 5 on the MCAS, they prepare all year for the one page or
Long composition.
That's fourth grade.
Is it fourth grade?
Fourth
Okay.
grade for long com.
So I know all year they prepare for that, and then it seems like I haven't really seen a whole lot of written work from my children come home. I know it's a lot of work for teachers to grade and respond and keep moving on. I'm really curious to know how much it would improve if they had to write every week.
Well, they're writing more than how many times a week?
Poor Mike.
In English?
Yeah, I mean, my classes are writing.
Mike's an English teacher.
Right.
I have 4 freshman English classes, and currently I have a senior creative writing class. The creative writing class is writing every day. The forms vary from informal to formal, so writing's happening, it's occurring.
But I'm wondering how much it's happening before it gets to you. I'm talking about like between grade 4 and grade 9. I'm wondering if the foundation isn't strong enough by the time it gets to the high school.
There's so many different types of writing too.
Yeah.
That they may occur and they may look different formats to you, that it's not necessarily, an essay wouldn't be the be all end all, because, like use an example, if you're preparing for the long composition all year long, that's completely different than a short answer question that's given just a month later. So it's they come in different forms.
The curriculum maps are going to take care of that, because that's something that we're working on. Because what you do then is you say, what is the sequential building skills? Those new national standards that we're all aligning to are very specific as to what writing needs to be done when and what the expectations are. So I think that sequential building, of course there's always the teacher's implementation of the standards, which that's the benefit of working in departments and having some consistency amongst the departments. But it should be pretty clear what kids need to know and be able to do grade by grade now with these standards.
I think the new standards do a good job of that, and they identify that for us as teachers and administrators to determine what are the expectations for writing and to what extent are we doing that in every content area.
Right.
So it's like what you said. I think it's become more clear because you just raised a question that we've had across the state since MCAS began. Who's doing what, to what extent, and how much are we doing it?
A lot of duplication, a lot of stuff that isn't getting done.
By the time they leave here to appropriately do this at
Right.
the college level.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the
Right.
goal.
Yeah.
All right.
So a lot of good work.
Sounds like you have a
happening.
busy year ahead of you.
It is
Busy half a year remaining.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Can you show me how to work that?
Yeah, you sit the.
You can just sit there and do it.
Just sit there and tap away.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Brian.
Oh, okay. I apologize in your handouts, first of all, because I believe I double-checked my document. Does yours say January 16th as a presentation
It says
date?
12th.
Mine says 12.
Oh, it does, good, then I'm proud of you.
There you go.
Oh.
Before I begin, I just want to address one quick item. Carol sent me an email a little bit earlier today and indicated at least one of the Anns and potentially
This
more
Ann.
people on the committee were looking for, at some point, some evidence of the cohort groups that have traveled through.
That's her.
Okay. So, for example, a sixth grade that is now in the 10th
Yeah, like
grade.
Peter had the slides in there showing the
Yeah.
cohort group.
I didn't realize that should have been, or maybe it wasn't supposed to be part of this
It's just something I
presentation.
always like to look at because I know a couple grades have shown declines over the years.
Well,
I just like to make sure that.
You may have been reading the mind because we're in the process of breaking those down now.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to come back on the 26th and present some
Okay.
evidence of that, if that's okay with you.
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
Or you can just email. That's fine. too.
Okay. As Peter did, I'm going to try to focus on action plans in your handouts. There's a lot of information on the 3 subject areas, showing the amount of students in advanced proficient needs improvement and warning. On purpose, I gave you our only subgroup, I guess, in the town of Georgetown, which is, I did non-sped students versus regular sped for 2 reasons. Number 1, to show you all the information. Number 2, to show you that there is a disparity in scoring and that we are aware of it. So that would be ELA, which is the current 9th graders. This is the current.
You see how, do you follow how that graph works?
Are you following those grids?
It's sort of interesting, because yeah.
The goal
Well,
is for us to send everybody to the left.
Right.
Towards advanced. That's the ultimate goal, is that everyone is proficient in advanced. But if you could see the 4 areas, black being advanced proficient, blue being proficient, pink needs improvement, and red warning or failing.
And I mean, sometimes those special ed numbers, they look like big percentages, but they're really not a lot of students.
They're not a lot of students.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's doable.
Exactly. And that's also, as I said, just to make you aware that we are aware. This would be the current grade 7 ELA and current grade 6. Okay, so our SMART goals. Every year, when you're looking at MCAS and the breakdowns, as Peter said, we go through and disaggregate the data so that we can determine where groups are coming in shy of the state. So the way I do it, and I've done it in the past, is I'll look through the breakdown of every question, individual and written, and find out where the district has come 5 percentage points or below the state level or more. So if they're dead even with the state level, I skip past that for now. If they're 5 points below or 10 or 12 points below, I nail that area. They are pretty common across the grade levels, and these are some of the gaps that we've found. And you can see them, I won't go through them, but again, long composition and open response, just as a couple of topic items. Not only is it a statewide issue, it's a district-wide issue here. And this is the important part, I believe, the ELA action plan. Since I'll just skip for a minute to the subject of long composition and open response, because at the middle school level, and I'm just from my experience at the elementary level, it's probably the same thing. We also work all year long gearing students towards, I know in 4th and in 7th grade, it's the ELA long composition, which is the biggie. Okay? At our students' level of development and maturity, they spend so much time gearing towards that, and then a month later they need to go back to taking open response questions, that what I've seen over the years as a trend, no matter where I've been, is that students will do a fairly good job with the open response, the long composition questions, which are looking for an opening paragraph, 3 supporting paragraphs, and a closing paragraph, and they have that format down. Then immediately, a month later, they jump to open response, which is a completely different type of response. They're looking more for informational, that you know what you're talking about, and you'll find that students over and over again are writing them as if they're still doing the long composition. So one of the things that we're looking at is to kind of try to break that a little bit and to find a way to let students know that, okay, we're done with the long composition, now it's time to refocus on our open response and short answer questions. The other piece that's an issue that I found in Georgetown, and when I was in Winthrop I found it as well, is it's not only important for the teachers to know how to assess what good writing is and what a 6/4 looks like, or what a 4-3-2-1 written example looks like, but more importantly the students need to know what good writing looks like. So one of the things that we're doing, and I'll skip around on this, there's going to be time for allocated MCAS practice and student self-assessment. What I mean by the student self-assessment, we have a professional development coming up next week with Bill Amorosi. Bill Amorosi, who's formerly with the DESE, and he has spent a career teaching teachers how to score MCAS exams in writing in particular. Our teachers will be trained, some already have been, some will be trained for the first time on how to properly score these writing prompts and what good writing looks like. We hope to translate that to the kids and teach them how to self-assess. So a kid should be able to say at some point, I've done enough work so that this is a 5/2. I need to get it to the 6/4, and then they also know what to do. So they've been trained on what good writing looks like. Part of the way we plan on doing that, we're going to take a real good look at we are taking a real good look now at the enhancement and enrichment programs, and that's across the subject matters. I know that they're aptly named and students are placed appropriately. I've found that there's a lot of good things going on in all of them, but not necessarily consistent things, and goals that are related to, consistent student achievement across the board. So we're going to be, especially in the areas of enhancement where we find the most need is with students, Mrs. Lyons at the high school is working very closely with the teachers in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, 6th grade in particular, to have some teacher assistants, high school interns, working in the enhancement blocks with the teachers to address individual students and their needs. Part of the way we're going to determine the needs is we're breaking down the data of the individual students and their subject matter in order to guide the instruction. So not only can we break down grade levels to determine where the weaknesses are in the standards, but we can also go in and break down individual students' testing over the years and determine what their strengths and weaknesses are, focus them into smaller groups, and try to address them on a smaller group basis. So we plan on doing that. So I've actually covered all that because I covered the PD for the writing and the open response, which will happen this month and next month. You're going to see a lot of repetitive stuff because in the mathematics, again, these graphics will show you the breakdowns of where students landed from the current 9th graders. We're not moving here. There we go. Down to the current 6th graders. And again, these are the gaps that we have found. These are the gaps that we have found in mathematics, Dollar analysis, statistics and probability, geometry, number sense, patterns, relations, algebra, measurement, and again, open response and short answer. One of the other things that we are doing when we see things, this particular subject matter, as we break down the individual student data, we can also go to the individual item analysis, pull up the actual questions from the prior year's MCAS, present that to the teachers and say, for example, in sixth grade, geometry is an issue. So we would go to the prior 3 or 5 years MCAS test, pull the geometry questions off the MCAS, present them to the teachers and say, we need to review these. One of the most important things that we are doing is we're taking academic vocabulary. There's often a breakdown between the curriculum that's in the classrooms, the vocabulary that's in that curriculum, and the vocabulary that's in the curriculum frameworks, the new core standards, and the MCAS. Sometimes they're vastly different, and it confuses kids to no end. So, for example, if a kid learns how to plot for a whole year in the 6th grade, and then they get to the MCAS testing, and it's described as graphing, they may know what they're supposed to do, but they're not going to recognize it at all. So we're in the process of using Picture Dictionary, which Mrs. Reed, about 5 years ago, they went to Ipswich Middle School, and this was one of the items they took away from the math teachers there. It's an actual dictionary with vocabulary that's completely aligned to the frameworks in the MCAS. So it gives students a very clear understanding of what they're looking at. The other thing is familiarity. We want the students to be familiar. I've always kind of used a war cry that I'm not an MCAS-driven principal because we're supposed to be well-rounded, but it is what we're judged by, and it is what it's fortunate or unfortunate. It's based around the frameworks, and those are what they are. Those are our curriculum. So, whoops, I lost it here. We just shut down there, Mr. Lucia. Oh, we're back.
That's okay. Oh, okay. I was going to say, you can just keep going. Off your paper copy if you have to.
Yeah, so, and the only last item on there, we will be going to visit Ipswich Middle School. I've made some connections since I've been here with a principals roundtable of this general area. And Cheryl Foster, who is the Ipswich Middle School principal, I reached out to the roundtable and asked if anyone had any specific plans that they were using around mathematics in particular. And she invited me to invite a group of people to go there and see some of the innovative things that they're doing. So we hope to have some takeaways from that.
Can I ask you one question?
Yes.
Which I
anytime.
loathe to bring up, but does the current middle school math curriculum align with the vocabulary and everything else with the new curriculum at the elementary level? You're talking about plotting versus graphing.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what they're teaching for graphing at the elementary school because Teddy doesn't have it right now, but Jack's doing it in the middle school for his math. And I'm just wondering if, do we need to, I know, I hate to ask you this, but do we need to look at the math curriculum at the middle school?
Oh, yeah, we need to look at the math.
Oh, yeah, we absolutely do.
Yeah.
There's no question.
We've actually been doing that. We started that work before Kristen left. And we're looking at a potential change in the 6th grade text.
Doesn't the everyday math go through?
Goes to
Yeah,
goes through
you're
6.
right.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should be on science.
Okay, so why don't we do the science really quickly
Yeah.
because we're.
I'll buzz you right through.
Yeah, because you're not going to like the rest of it. I have a lot written down.
Oh, good. Oh, on the rest of the agenda?
Uh-huh.
No worries.
We're having some technical
Hey.
difficulties.
Okay, so why don't you just kind of go through, it's just the science action plan,
Right.
and then we're done.
So in science, it was more of the same. A couple of things we're looking to do is schedule more accessible lab times for students across the board. And there's a couple of 6th grade classes that don't get to spend any time in the laboratory. That's a very valuable part of the science curriculum. And in fact, there's probably 6 to 8 questions on every MCAS every year that have to do with laboratory experiments.
Really?
Which is interesting. What we just heard from the MSBA talking about when we asked about a lab, what could we have a science lab?
Yeah.
That's right.
And they
'Cause I didn't
don't
see the lab on the-
support. They don't support
Well,
it.
here's what they do. They want every classroom to be equipped so that you would be able to do lab
They're all going
science.
to have gas lines running in so you can
Well,
flame up a Bunsen
that-
burner?
They don't use Bunsen burners
what
anymore.
she,
They
what
use
she
heating
said is,
lentils.
what she said is the way the classrooms would be designed would be consistent with the ability for teachers to do lab science in their classrooms. Never seen it, no idea what.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
interesting. We did too.
If you guys don't mind, if you switch
Yeah.
to the last page, just in the interest of time. The general school-wide actions. I'm going to save the first one for last. The future of the middle school schedule. We're working together now with staff members in the building to take a look at what we can change around a little bit to possibly play with some time and look at initiating some literacy blocks and some longer periods in the academic areas. Specifically, we want to take a look at professional development next year to address differentiated instruction and the middle school teaching model. Very unique time of life for everyone. And the ILT, which I just want to talk about for 1 minute, and then I'll close. The instructional leadership team. I put it out there in October as a volunteer initiative for teachers who would like to be involved in making some changes and driving the school improvement plan for next year and the next few years to follow. To my surprise, not really knowing anyone, I had 11 takers. So we've established an instructional leadership team which is based around the model of the DESE's 11 conditions of school effectiveness. Did this last year in my school where we were in a year of corrective action. And the DSAC came in and helped us, which is a group of retired superintendents and principals, to go through and take a real good look and survey the staff and determine what the needs were based around these 11 conditions. We picked 2 and went with them, something that was doable and something that we could sink our teeth into and see some positive effects. Right now where we are is the ILT has, as a group, has narrowed it down to 2 of the conditions. I'm paraphrasing quickly here. We're going to present them to the staff in a survey monkey. We're going to get the results of the survey and determine where we need to go from there to make some positive changes. And ultimately, it's all around student achievement. So hopefully we anticipate seeing some real realistic but challenging goals for next year as well, based on the results of that. And it seems to be an initiative that everyone's taking and doing together. It's not top-down, it's not thrown at them. And they're very involved and they're excited about it. And the people have been, there are so many good things going on in that middle school that people have, you know, I keep saying to them, kidding around, it's almost like you guys have been in survival mode for a long time. And they're willing to try it one more time. They're willing to jump in there, and I think you're going to see some real positive stuff from that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions around.
I had a question, and it was I asked Peter the same thing. Does every child who falls into a needs improvement or warning category in MCAS, do they get put in an enhancement class
Not
to
necessarily.
focus on those goals?
Well, I think they're global goals. I think they're improvements, not just based around an MCAS test, because it's one indicator.
Right. No, but that's what But I mean, do you have like an MCAS prep class?
No, but I would say the enhancement and the enrichment programs both have an element of MCAS prep in them. They're all doing it, but we haven't put a name on it or a plan. Now they're going to have a plan. So, for example, the enhancement program is still going to be the enhancement program, but at certain times during a cycle, a 7-day cycle, there's going to be set days or times to focus on open response or small group instruction or particular strands that are lacking, to really just to have a focus. For the enrichment groups, we're looking at student growth. So, for example, the student growth in the state, you could have a student who's very low failure on math in the 4th grade, and then in the 5th grade they're still in warning, but they've made a tremendous amount of growth. Then conversely, you could have a student who is high proficient and goes into advanced the next year and has a very small amount of student growth. So we're also looking at that to make sure that we're still trying to challenge the kids who need the challenges, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But a kid who's on the cusp, at 238 and his needs improvement may not need to be enhancement. They may have had a bad testing day. It could have been a poor question. They may have skipped 3 questions, you know, and they're fine. So there's other elements to go into it, but we are breaking those down and looking at them individually. And it's manageable enough because there's only, well, there's 420 of them, but it's
a lot of them.
It's a lot.
Doesn't seem manageable.
But we're breaking them down by classroom and then passing them off to the teachers. So they have all that information. The department heads at the high school have given them all the breakdowns of the subject matter and the strands. What they didn't have was their individual kids so that they could guide their instruction based on that. So now they can do that, hopefully.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
I just
Thank
have,
you.
I just have one little question. It's the
okay.
same question I had for Peter.
Did that to him, too.
No,
He was on his way out.
Oh,
She dragged him back
It's a
in.
technique.
Yeah.
Right?
And it just gets back to writing. So I know that they're writing in the high school. That was done. My concern is I haven't seen a lot of writing in the middle school. I've heard a lot of comments about it and the fact that by December there weren't any like written essays graded for students. I don't know if that's, handled through open response, short answer things, or what that is. So I just don't know if there just isn't enough of it, or, is the expectation to have students writing on a regular basis?
It is.
And what
And
kind?
I do see it consistently.
Like what
and
kind of writing, I guess?
I see all different things. I'll see in every subject area.
But I haven't seen a graded essay.
At all?
No.
That surprises me.
Yeah, it's shocking.
And bear in mind too, kids in middle school, stuff winds up in the locker, or it's in their folders. It's
Yeah,
it may
and
not
that's
make
it's
its way
entirely
home.
possible.
You requested a copy and no one was able to produce one. So it's,
Oh, okay,
we'll talk
okay, so that's-
specifically about
yeah.
Ian's.
Yeah, no, but that's even more.
But it's overall a question that you
Overall, a
have.
question, yeah, of the amount. And that's something we're looking at because, as I said, it's there are pockets that are erratic. That we're trying to bring some consistency to.
I think
There's no doubt about
there's two
that.
issues, Ann. One is, are the teachers doing a lot of writing, but treating it as a process approach in school, and everything doesn't go to publishing?
Well, see, that's what I'm trying to
do
get
they
at.
Do they not routinely and consistently, have certain things they grade, and the children bring them home?
Yeah, see, I guess that's my question.
Yeah.
Is it
what is the issue?
Because clearly it's occurring. I mean, they just told me that it's occurring.
Right.
But I'm not seeing any result of it.
Right. And even on Edline, you don't necessarily see it where it'll
No,
say
I mean, no, it doesn't really say. I mean, they're great. Some teachers are amazing at reporting on Edline.
Right.
But it doesn't say like essay
essay.
or
Oh, it
it'll
doesn't,
say
okay.
HW,
Homework or
homework or
something.
whatever.
Okay.
So maybe it is occurring, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah, like
it
you said,
sounds
it might
like
be
it
a
may be-
development process.
Yeah,
Well,
and
but
it
it's
may
just
be a
not making it
particular.
home.
Yeah, maybe a particular thing you want to discuss with an individual teacher too. and-
Yeah, no, I
and-
would,
It's across
but
the
yeah,
board.
I've heard
Across the
it,
board.
and I've heard it from a number of people.
Yeah. Yep. We'll definitely look into that.
Yep. And it's my understanding that Edline's still in its infancy too. That we're still pulling together some consistency on that too, and trying to make it more.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I would
Is
say
this the
that's
second
true. but
year?
This is the second year.
Second
it
year?
is the second year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's more. I mean, I don't know how you input, but I mean, certainly it's. I don't know if they have enough room to say, essay number 1 or whatever. I mean, they, HW. I can figure out.
Well, we're
what
looking
that is.
also at how we can standardize the format a little bit, the way
Yeah.
people present stuff, because it can get confusing from teacher to teacher and grade to grade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things keep revealing themselves.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah. Guess what?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Okay.
All right, moving right along. Any questions on the superintendent's information for the committee?
I do.
Oh,
I had a feeling that was coming.
It's letter G. Letter G.
Letter G.
Illegal waiver ruling information. My question is,
let's just-
how many do we have that are on waivers that are teaching in their non-specified area? And if this appeal that is now going forward, because they are appealing the decision, if this appeal is denied, what do you do with the teachers? Are they immediately terminated? Do they
Let me
finish
just
out
remind
the year?
myself what we're talking about here.
Non-waivered. I mean, wavered.
That's
waivers
what you
are
gave
illegal.
me.
It's really all about that.
That's the one
It's
you
about
gave
that,
me,
yes,
right?
that Nordberg
Yeah.
guy.
So this is talking. This is talking about a particular situation where that particular gentleman that's listed in this article felt that he was wronged because he was a certified candidate and district
Wasn't
hired
Non-certified.
non-certified people they felt were more qualified.
Right.
Right. So we do have a few people on waivers. I'll get you those names. I don't have them off
I
the
don't need
top
the
of my
names, I
head.
just wanted numbers. Three.
Laura, do you
Laura
have
knows
some?
three.
Laura knows because Laura manages that. In all cases, when we hire somebody who is not certified,
I know you give them a time frame.
we do. And we monitor that. And if they don't get, we have a few people now that I've already met with them, Laura, and I've said, if you aren't certified by the end of the year, then your job will not be renewed.
That was my concern,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
if this guy's, I mean, he won, and the state's appealing, but if the state, if they
Right.
lose the appeal, then
Right.
how does that impact our teachers? That was
I
my
mean,
concern.
generally, you don't see this kind of thing happening with teachers. You see it more with administrative positions.
Okay.
Principal or business manager or something where there's only one of them.
Just kidding.
But we make every effort to hire certified people.
I know.
And if we have an elementary position, we'll have 600 applicants. It's really hard not to be able to find a certified person in an applicant. But every once in a while, we'll have something like, for example, a life skills teacher, a person that's going to be working with students who have some severe, issues and needs, and you need a unique person. A lot of times we don't necessarily find certified people who are certified in special education in moderate to severe special needs. So we might see somebody certified in special ed, but not necessarily in moderate to severe special needs. So in those cases, if we have exhausted the possibility, we sometimes will hire someone and then give them a waiver and then expect that they're
I knew it
moving through
wasn't
a
a big
training
number,
program.
but I
It's not a
just-
big number.
I
no.
just wondered. Okay.
No, the principals do a really good job of
That was all I
really,
had.
we have a goal to have certified people. Okay, anything
Okay,
else,
that's-
Ann?
that's it for
Anything
that
else in that
section.
section? Okay.
All right, moving right along, financial report. Oh, any other questions?
No.
Superintendent's information. Okay, financial report. Nothing at this point.
Not tonight.
Old business, none. Subcommittee. Subcommittee reports. Budget and finance. We had a meeting this week. We're starting to go through the preliminary budget. Looks like we have to present to FinCom February 29th, which is a Wednesday. I said in my email today, we're going to have to meet over February vacation during our regular meeting, the 23rd, and we're also going to need to meet on the 16th. Once I have a better idea of what exactly our numbers are, I asked Andy Beliveau and David Surface to tell me exactly what level funded is, because in our opinion, it would be last year's budget, plus the override would be level funded. So I want to make sure that
including the override.
Including the override. So I want to make sure that that's the case. And then they're also looking at level services, which would be exactly what we're doing today, plus any contractual obligations. So once we have that, I'll let you guys know. Hopefully by the next meeting, then we can start reviewing the budgets.
I heard a rumor about town, and you can confirm or deny or whatever, that the town doesn't want to give us all the money that we got last year from the override.
That's why I'm trying to get a clear number on what our number is, because when we were meeting the other day, my opinion for level funded was 12,756, which was our operating budget plus the override.
Plus the full 1.2.
Plus one, full 1205 something.
Level funding is exactly what we got when we got.
That's why I'm finding that.
But that's
out.
but the rumor about that I'm
well,
hearing.
I think where the rumor's coming from is, if you recall, that in our budget with the override, when we did
I
the
know
override,
there
were some
one-time
expenses. For example,
expenses.
just say the labs at the middle high school. Even though we did a lease, right, that we appropriated money to replace those 2 labs. We bought some maintenance equipment. So those things were one-time expenses.
Yeah, but there's always a one-time expense.
Exactly. Right.
You need that money for.
Right.
That's right.
But our expectation
So
is
it's
level
not
funding
going
is
for a fight till
including that
Right,
1.2 million.
I just want to see what.
But we need to hear that.
We
from
just
the
need
town.
to know what level funding is, right?
Okay.
So, yes, so I've heard similar
Heard that.
discussions.
Great.
In 2 weeks we'll talk about what exactly our number is, and then we'll lay out different pieces of the budget.
Right.
Governance.
We met last week. This week, Monday. And we are currently going through the different sections of the policy manual, and we're reviewing section G, and we found that policy GBD, one of the statement says that the school committee will make a minimum of 1 visit each year to each school with full committee approval. So because of the incredible amount of technology that's been donated by parents and PTA and GEF at all the schools, and the new curriculum in science and math at the elementary schools, and the new programs that have been set up at the middle school and the high school, we thought we should ask for approval at this meeting from the full committee for us to be able to schedule a visit to each of the 4 schools over at some point during the spring.
Between now and the end of the school year.
Between now and the end of the year. If we get the approval from the committee tonight to go forward, we can do the scheduling later. We can look to see, when the majority of us can go and set them up with the principals at that time. But right now, we just thought, because it's required, it says will make, it doesn't say shall or should. It does say will in the policy.
Okay.
That we just wanted to get the approval for it tonight.
Yeah, it's under staff, school committee communications, that's the policy.
Right.
So I think that, the spirit of that is that it gives the committee a chance to, visit the schools and for the staff to see the committee's interest and.
Okay.
I want to see some of that new technology
I would-
in
as I
action.
say,
Yes, you would enjoy seeing that, I think.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the school committee to visit each of the Georgetown Public Schools between now and the end of the school year.
As per policy.
As per policy.
GBD.
GBD.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Great, so we can set that up through
Yep.
you and
Yep,
the
yep, we'll
principals?
take care of it, yep.
Okay.
All right, great.
Negotiating.
All righty, negotiating.
Okay, I think we have a meeting next Tuesday, right,
We
with
do.
custodians
Tuesday,
and
we do.
students?
We do,
And I
with the
think-
custodians.
Right.
And then we have meetings coming up, starting negotiations with the
The
teachers.
teachers union,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you
That's-
started with them yet?
No.
No, my fault. My
Laura,
schedule
what's
changed
the-
and I
what's
can't
the
meet
first
on
date?
Wednesday nights.
Of that?
February 7th and 27th.
February 7th and February 27th. 27th? Yeah, 27th.
So we'll be meeting
So we're
and then
starting that process.
So after we have our first teachers negotiating meeting, we'll have an executive session, let you know what's going on, and move on from there.
Great.
Okay, moving right along to my favorite subject.
Oh, it's mine.
Oh, it's Dave. Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
As a senior member, it must be yours.
Yeah.
The last time Dave has to vote on this discussion. This will be it.
It might be my last vote on this.
Are you going to run again?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying. I'm just kidding. Okay, can I comment?
Yes, absolutely.
I want to
Okay.
comment too.
We're discussing
I'm just
the
gonna be brief.
2012-13
I'm
school
going to be
calendar
brief
for those
because
that are interested.
I voted against starting school after Labor Day the past 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I've lost both times. But I'm going to vote the same way this year, so that's it.
And I just want to say that I voted to start before the last 2 years because my personal opinion was because starting school on the 8th and the 10th of September was late.
Right.
But now that, and I always said, 2 years ago when we started this process, I always said if Labor Day was early, that I would go back to the before train of thought. So, there you go, Dave.
Thanks, Ann.
All right. Robin, Barbie,
Wait, Ian, what did you say? You would go
Question
back
is
to
just about the
before? Be after Labor Day. I'm just trying to figure out
I would
what
go
you
back
just
to the
said.
way we did it before.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
How often does it change? How often does this vote come up?
Well, it came up 2 years ago
Every year.
because Labor
Every
Day was
year?
starting on, I think if we did it after Labor Day, it was going to start school on the 9th
Yes.
or the 10th.
Yeah.
And
We'll deal with
the
that
majority
one.
of the committee felt like that was too late
Too late.
because
So
it
that
pushed
was the
school
that
back.
was the curveball
Don't we
that
have,
changed.
you have two
it.
calendars in here, right?
Yeah,
So
that
you
was
can
the
see
curveball.
I think what's really hard for parents to schedule vacations and whatnot, not knowing what the, that's
Right,
gonna
we have
be
to vote
coming
every
up.
year. We have to
vote every
If
year.
you vote every year on
And
it.
we need
So
to-
consistency, I would think, would be really helpful.
And we need to let the union know by January 1st.
Right,
But we sent them letters
They
asking
kindly
We're
think
a
it's a
little
waiver.
late.
and asking for
They've been flexible on
Asking
that,
to-
but they do like to know as soon as possible.
Hello?
Yes, Peter.
I just want to make a counterpoint because you had a point before. That those 3 or 4 days, they do matter because all of the standardized tests are fixed dates. So if you
Oh, I
start
see what he's saying.
before Labor
That's what
Day,
Kristen
you
said,
have
yeah.
4 extra
I forgot
days
that.
to prepare for the MCAS tests, for the SATs, for the APs. And when you lose snow days, though,
Well, you
they
have
don't
3
move
votes,
those
so
tests back.
Just move it.
So that's just
You
another
have 3
thing to
votes, so
consider.
move it.
Oh, she's got 5.
Well, okay, well, she's got 5. She only needs 3.
All right. Sorry. Peter, point well taken. I appreciate it.
I think that,
He wants it before?
I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
He wants it before. Yeah.
before.
Well,
I think Peter's absolutely right, but this is my first time. And
It's okay, just so that you know, historically, whenever we vote on something, it's usually like 5-0.
Yeah, it's the only vote we have.
It's the only vote we ever
get a split.
We ever go 3-2.
Okay, so I feel comfortable.
Yeah,
You can vote either way. That's right.
All right.
All right. So the chair will entertain. Oh, how do I have to read this one?
Well, that one won't work for you, Ian.
Yeah, no.
You can
The chair.
Oh, that's right.
modify it.
Okay, the chair.
Just do the opposite of that.
Oh my God, I can't even read. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the start date of the 2012-13 school year after Labor Day as
Right.
presented
So let's
in draft 2.
So yes, so draft 2. That's what.
So it would start September 4th.
We would start September 4th.
After Labor Day.
After Labor Day.
Yes.
And we
start
would
September.
end on June 18th if no school days.
A vote for family.
And we heard the impassioned plea of Ms. Dunphy, who was kind enough to come down here tonight.
I appreciated that.
So moved.
Second.
Can hardly say it.
All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You gotta say opposed.
Opposed? Nope. All,
So
motion carried. All right.
Now, why did you start off saying after Labor Day and not going with who votes for before Labor Day?
Because you have to propose a motion, and so the motion, and so.
Oh,
if
so that's the one
so
that
if
you
no
wanted
one's-
to propose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
proposed.
So you would have to vote that down and
Right.
then make a
You
new
have to
motion.
vote- yeah, you would have to vote the next one. That's why it took me a minute to remember what we had to do.
Okay.
Okay. So
Bad about it.
next up is the approval of the cross-country
Country.
donation. We had a very generous donation from Coach Macy's for T-shirts for the cross-country team this year. So the chair, actually, they're for next year's cross-country team.
Yes.
I apologize. So the chair will entertain a motion to accept this very generous cross-country donation for T-shirts as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the acceptance of the drama department donation. Mr. and Mrs. Rue have generously donated funds again this year.
Yeah, they
correct?
did this last year.
Yeah, last year too.
For the sound system for our drama department, and it's quite important, I guess, in our play. It makes
The
all
musical, yeah.
It makes all the difference in the world for the musical. So the chair will entertain a motion to accept the drama department donation as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion?
Is it okay for us to second or so?
Afraid to. You just gotta be quick.
Jump in quick.
We're trying to move this along.
He really has so many meetings to get his share of seconds in.
Absolutely. Any further discussion?
No.
No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And we should
When we're
really
not here.
take care of this more permanently
I
in the
guess,
future.
when you weren't here,
That
we
we
were
shouldn't
doing it.
rely on Mr. and Mrs. Rue, every year. We should really
Yeah,
address this situation.
I
Absolutely.
agree.
Yeah, this is I believe the second year
Yeah,
that
right.
they've
Yep.
made a very generous donation for this, so
Right.
it'd be nice if we could make our own
At some point,
enhancement.
take care of it, right.
Okay, next item on new business is the distribution of the new concussion policy file JLCDA.
The only thing you need to know is that the letter that's in the packet, in the stapled packet together, has an error down at the bottom on the consent form. It shouldn't say participate in the impact. Laura printed a new one that was on the table for all of us.
Yeah.
I asked her to print a new one for us. We're doing the SAC test.
Okay.
So this is the new
Right.
consent form.
Right, thank you. On the 26th is your first reading, and the athletic director will be here at that meeting to
Questions
answer
about the
questions
tests
about it.
and-
So any questions you have, like he'll actually show you, well, is the test, the
test
copy
is
of the
in there.
test is in here, so if you have any questions about the
And
test.
just, so, I mean, this has been, you guys went through a lot of work to get this to where it is, and it's
Ugh.
something that is really important
It
for all
is
of our
important.
student athletes, that we really need
And
to.
I mean, this does require the doctor's clearance before the trainer's gonna allow any child to play. So
Your
parents need to
child-
hold ahead of that.
personal doctor, right.
The
Yeah.
personal doctor has to approve it before the trainer's gonna let them back on any court, field, or trail.
All right.
Cross country.
Is there anything else? that-
No. Yeah. No swim team. So.
Okay.
I think we got it all covered.
Thank you all for your time. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
I thought you were gonna second it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
for
you
sitting
all
through that.
very much.
A little levity.